Chapter 4750. The Celestial Being chuckled. Phoenix Sage probably doesn't know that the black-armored Pentaceratops and the nether demonic dragon spider have been killed by fellow Taoist Xiao, right? Of course I know. Phoenix Wu replied. Fu Jiwen was the first to inform the Great Sage Hall. However, the demon domain of the two great sages has been taken over by the golden-winged Great Peng and the other three great sages. This sage has been in the depths of the Great Sage Hall all this time and did not pay attention to this matter. However, if nothing unexpected happens, the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm will definitely fall into chaos. Fellow Taoist Xiao, you don't have to do this. Unfortunately, before he could finish his sentence, a pillar of overwhelming qi exploded high in the sky. Earth, fire, wind, and lightning faintly appeared. Then, the Literature Palace Master's figure turned into a huge distorted light projection and shot down from the sky. The moment the Literature Palace Master saw Huang Tong, he immediately understood. He clapped his hands and laughed. Today the Fortune Gate Sect Master and the 10 Old Masters have gathered. Congratulations. Greetings, Literature Palace Master. Huang Tong saw that all his clones had returned. Every time he saw one of them, his heart would tremble. This was something he had never experienced in the hundreds of thousands of years in the mystic origin space. He couldn't help but feel his heart wet as he bowed. Let's go. Xiao Hua looked at the changes in the sky after Wen Chu landed and said with a smile, a storm is coming. We will return to the Fortune Dao Palace to collect our clothes. The clones laughed and turned into light projections as they rushed into the Fortune Dao Palace. After the clones sat down, Xiao Hua quickly recounted how he killed the two great sages of the Great Sage Hall and the Grand Mist Ancestor. He then looked at Wen Chu and said, it seems like Immortal Emperor Go Chen's 9 prefectures grand formation didn't succeed. What about the 9 prefectures cauldrons? Here. Wen Chu slapped the door and the 9 prefectures cauldrons flew out and landed in front of Xiao Hua. He said, the 9 prefectures grand formation is definitely not something a mortal world cultivator can set up. Even though Immortal Emperor Go Chen was commanding and the Supreme Heavenly Mirror was the name, the 9 of us still couldn't work together. Just a slight difference caused the complete collapse of the 9 provinces grand formation. Xiao Hua opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of innate true qi. The 9 continents cauldrons entered his body and he said, Old Gaochen really has a good idea. If I can't set up the 9 continents great array, I will never be able to marry Princess Zixia. Now, even if I can't marry her, I will take away this Jiuzhou cauldron. We can't let Gaochen's evil plan succeed. Could it be that he's really in a desperate situation? Wen Chu asked in a low voice, unwilling to give up. Yeah. Xiao Hua replied, before you came back, I already told the disciples about this matter and let them make a decision. If they are willing, I will bring the entire Fortune Gate to the 10,000 Demon World or Dawn Rain mainland. Today, I invited all of you here to discuss this matter and see what you think. Fellow Taoist Xiao, don't be in such a hurry. Feng Wu hurriedly said, this sage hasn't finished speaking yet. All right, Sage Feng, please continue. Xiao Hua came back to his senses and said embarrassedly, this Xiao was a little disheartened and forgot about this matter. Feng Wu waved his hand and took out a flat white bone. This white bone was dotted with specks of stars and moonlight. It looked very ancient. Everyone please take a look. Feng Wu said and spat out a beam of moonlight onto the white bone. Shua. The white bone immediately transformed into a picture of the 4 great continents. On this picture there was a line of words for the location of the Western Sea. These words were also very strange. They weren't written in a language, but in the Dawn Rain mainland's Taoist language, the Buddhist sect's Sanskrit, and the demonic beast race's demonic language. Fortunately, Xiao Hua was enlightened by the Shua Wenjie, so he could understand this line of words with just a glance. It was a couplet, 4 poems of elegance, 3 talents of heaven, earth and man. Xiao Hua was puzzled. He looked at Wen Chu and Wen Chu was also puzzled. Wen Chu said, we Confucian cultivators have a very famous couplet. 3 lights, sun, moon and stars for poems of elegance. What does this couplet mean? Feng Wu shrugged and said with a bitter smile, this saint also doesn't know. This saint only saw the picture of the 4 great continents and saw that the poem separated the Dawn Rain mainland from the 3 continents. I felt that it might be related to the immortal formation, so I hurried here. If it's useless, this saint will follow fellow Taoist Xiao back to the Dawn Rain mainland. This saint has nothing to worry about, so I can go anywhere. Wen Chu frowned, looked at Xiao Hua and said, this couplet is different from the couplet that Confucian cultivators are familiar with. It's the three talents, heaven and man. Moreover, if it's a normal couplet, the three lights, sun, moon and star should be removed and the three talents, heaven, earth and man should be placed first. After all, Confucian cultivators take heaven, earth, king, family and teacher as their leader. It's impossible to put heaven, earth and man behind the poems of elegance. Boom. Wen Chu's word struck Xiaohua like a lightning tribulation. Xiaohua's body trembled as he flew up from the throne of creation and exclaimed, "Everyone! I seem to know something. What does fellow Taoist know?" "How come we don't know?" Wen Chu and the others were puzzled. Xiaohua didn't answer. Instead, he pinched the space between his eyebrows with his thumb and index finger. He narrowed his eyes and pondered for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Then he opened his eyes and said with ecstasy, "Everyone, I know how to break the formation." Buddha Maitreya was most worried about the creatures of the three continents and couldn't help but ask, "How to break the formation, Tanyu? Quickly say it." "Impossible." Celestial shouted, "We don't know, how can you know?" "It's very simple," Xiaohua said with a smile, "because this matter happened in the Dawn Rain mainland before you all appeared." "Fellow Taoist Xiao, quickly say it." Huang Tong also said happily, "At that time I had some impression. I don't know if I can remember it." "No, you might not know." Xiaohua wasn't in a hurry to speak. Instead he turned to ask Buddha Maitreya. When Chu and Taoist Master Yun said, "Do you all still remember how this Xiao found the formation core of the Great World Extermination War on the Great Wasteland mainland?" "Fellow Taoist, didn't you say that back then on the Dawn Rain mainland, there was a Buddha with a devil heart that attracted your attention? Only then did you think that the formation core of the Great World Extermination formation in the sky was actually on the ground?" Celestial also asked curiously, "What does this have to do with the immortal formation? Could it be that the formation core of the immortal formation is also on the ground?" "That's right." Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, "The formation core of the immortal formation is not only on the ground, but also within the ink cloud black forest. It's on the heaven, earth and mortal peaks of the Meng country's Taiching sect." Heaven, earth and mortal peaks? Isn't it just the heaven, earth and mortal peaks? Wen Chu suddenly realized. Chapter 47:51. Xiaohua nodded and said, "That's right, the three talents means the three formations. The immortal formation is the overlapping of the Buddhist sect's Great Meru formation, the Tao sect's Five Elements Annihilation formation, and the Demon Clan Song of Time formation. Doesn't it correspond to the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak and Human Peak? Didn't Hanju mention it before? The Taiching sect holds an Immortal Ascension Assembly every 60 years. They invite some Golden Core disciples from the country of Shi, the country of Lian and the country of Meng to the Taiching sect to learn from each other. While exchanging experiences, they fly and climb from the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak and Human Peak to the ninth heaven. Who can climb the highest? Who will be the Immortal Ascension Assembly's Immortal Ascension Assembly? As for Hanju himself, he used the Buddhist sect's method to rush to the so-called ninth heaven on the Heaven Peak. Presumably, the Heaven Peak is the eye of the Buddhist formation. Because he used the Buddhist sect's method, he wasn't blocked by the Buddhist formation and was sent to the ink cloud black forest. Isn't this very similar to the Great Firmament formation in the primitive continent? If nothing goes wrong, the Earth Peak and Human Peak are the eye of the Tao sect's formation and the Demon Clan's formation. The so-called Immortal Ascension Assembly is actually attacking the immortal formation that separates the four great continents. Xiaohua's inconceivable idea sounded so reasonable in everyone's ears. After all, the Great Firmament formation in the primitive continent was a clear proof. Since the heavenly demon of the transformation heaven could use the Heaven Peak to set up such a formation that couldn't be found, then the celestial venerables and immortal kings of the immortal world would also use the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak, and Human Peak to set up an immortal formation that separates the four great continents. Then, how do we break the formation? The Thunderbolt Immortal asked curiously. The demon venerable had devoured the devil formation's devil spirit. He smiled and said, "It's very easy to break the formation. The simple and crude method is to topple the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak and Human Peak of the Taiching sect." Back in the primitive continent, when Di Ting used the Pangu axe to topple the Heaven Peak, didn't the Great Firmament formation leak? Then it began to destroy the world. If we topple the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak and Human Peak, won't the immortal formation begin to leak? Then, the true chi of the Dawn continent can enter the three continents? I'm afraid it's not that simple. Now that Xiaohua's thoughts were clear, all his thoughts were immediately clear. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Since there are three peaks, heaven, earth and man, then the corresponding array eyes of these three peaks must have the effect of relying on each other for defense. If these three peaks are to be pushed down, they must be pushed down at the same time, just like laying down the 9 regions great array. But I only have the strength of one strike of Pangu axe. Reverend Yun said with a wry smile, so I'll need both fellow Taoists and I to attack at the same time. Little brother's demonic blade counts as one. Demon Sovereign Sure anxiously said. My heaven and earth pagoda. When Chu hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'm afraid the heaven and earth pagoda won't do. That's easy. Xiao Hua laughed. This Xiao's 5 elements wishful heavenly staff only lacks 2 magnets. This Xiao has long known that there is a magnetism in the dark world, and now I also know that there is a magnetism in the 10,000 demon realm. If I collect these 2 magnets, won't I be able to sacrificial refine the real 5 elements wishful heavenly staff? That is an ancient ferocious weapon. Although I didn't succeed in refining it when I was in the ruins, just by collecting it I was able to cause a strange phenomenon. If I succeed in refining it, I'm afraid it won't be a problem to push down a mountain. At this time, Maitreya Buddha of the world, who had been silent all this time, laughed and said, Namo Maitreya Buddha, the Tao sect, Buddhism sect, and Demon clan have 30% of the immortal array. Why don't you use my tree of 7 wonders instead of the demonic blade? Isn't this neglecting the essentials? Oh, the tree of 7 wonders of the world has such an effect? Xiao Hua did not believe it. Maitreya Buddha of the world said with a smile, the power of faith and the power of reincarnation can transform into all kinds of existences. The power of mountains is naturally nothing difficult. Good. Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, in that case the heavenly peak will be handed over to the world. You are proficient in the Dharma of Buddhism, and you have the sacred weapon of Buddhism sect. You are the best person to crack the Buddhist array. After saying that, Xiao Hua looked at Reverend Yun and said, fellow Taoist Yun, you are a member of the Dragon clan, and you have the dragon weapon of the dragon god. You are the best person to crack the demon array. As for the Tao sect's array, leave it to I. What about me? Reverend Thunderbolt jumped to his feet and said, I'm also a Mahayana cultivator of Tao sect. I can also use the heavenly peak to push down the earth peak. Deal. Xiao Hua smiled and said, fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, I will remember your kindness. In fact, the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man are just a speculation. Since it is an immortal array, it must not be that simple. It is impossible to break the immortal array by just pushing down the 3 peaks. I'll discuss this matter in detail when I return to Tai Ching's sect. Upon hearing this, Wen Chu clapped his hands and said, every time we reach the end of the road, there is always a glimmer of hope. Who would have thought that an unavoidable calamity would actually reveal a glimmer of hope at this moment? The fairness of the heavenly Tao is also here. Yes, this is the heavenly Tao. Xiao Hua smiled. The sunshine of hope had blown away the gloom in his heart, and his heart was also bright. Bodhisattva. Seeing Xiao Hua's joy, Maitreya Buddha of the world said with a smile, there is no Bodhi tree nor is there a mirror. The nature of Buddha is always pure and there is no dust. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Xiao Hua put his palms together and bowed. Thank you for your reminder, Buddha of the world. However, I am willing to sacrifice my Tao heart for the billions of living beings in the 3 continents. Namo Bodhisattva, the merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. Maitreya Buddha of the world recited the name of Bodhisattva, which was rare for him. Even I can't match Bodhisattva's compassion. Ah. Reverend Yun laughed and said, fellow Taoist, you were forcing your disciples to make a choice just now, but you didn't know that your heart was also bleeding. Now that you have good news, shouldn't you tell your disciples about it? All right. Xiao Hua nodded. The situation has changed and they will have more choices. Of course, I can't guarantee that the Great Holy Hall's clue is the key to breaking the formation. Moreover, I can't be sure that I can break the formation. All of this is still unknown and they still need to make a choice. Xiao Hua sent a voice transmission to Wang Bianfei and the other personal disciples. Xiao Hua was a little surprised when Lu Yi, Jianghong, Fu Jiwen, and the others entered the hall. All of them bowed respectfully to the Fortune Gate's 10 masters sitting on the fortune throne, congratulating the Fortune Gate's masters. Seeing this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, since my Fortune Gate's masters are here, how can this disciple not be here? As he spoke, he took out the Kunlun mirror and sent out Yuan Ye, who had been refining the Devil Spear on the Xinhua continent. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to say anything, Lu Yi warmly pulled Yuan Ye aside and explained the ins and outs of the matter. Yuan Ye was overjoyed when he heard this, and he kowtowed to the 10 masters again. Although it was Huang Tong's first time meeting Yuan Ye, He liked Yuan Ye's unruly nature. Huang Tong couldn't help but send a voice transmission to Xiao Hua, wanting to accept Yuan Ye as his disciple. Chapter 4752. He, my disciple is your disciple, there is no need to distinguish between them. Xiao Hua said in his heart. You can give me pointers if you want, there is no need for a master and disciple relationship. Huang Tong nodded, indicating that she understood. Xiao Hua looked at Lu Yi and Fuji Wen again. Have you dealt with the Sky-Bearing Palace's matters? Yes, master. Lu Yi hurriedly answered. The Sky-Bearing Palace did not have many disciples in the West Sea. Other than a few loyal disciples and a few that master must kill, the rest have pledged allegiance to my fortune gate. This disciple won without much effort. Fuji Wen also said, disciple's situation is similar to Lu Yi's. My fortune gate is like the sun in the sky, the leader of the Tao world. When disciple told them about the Grand Mist ancestor's death, the Sky-Bearing Palace's disciples scattered like monkeys. Most of them joined my fortune gate and only a few chose to leave. Fuji Wen then looked at Lu Yi, and the two of them exchanged a glance. Fuji Wen added, other than that, disciple and Lu Yi did not find any trace of the Grand Mist ancestor's primordial spirit. At the same time, we sent disciples to follow the Sky-Bearing Palace's disciples who left, but until now there has been no news. Good. Xiao Hua nodded and ordered, since you want to kill the Grand Mist ancestor, don't leave any traces behind. The Grand Mist ancestor is only left with a wisp of remnant soul, and he can't possess ordinary cultivators. I'm afraid that he might have left a clone somewhere. Of course, it has only been a few hundred years since he escaped, so it's not possible for him to cultivate a clone. He might have other plans. In short, I'll leave this matter to you. Think of a way to kill him. Yes, disciple understands. Lu Yi and Fuji Wen bowed respectfully. Also, Xiao Hua looked at Jianghu and asked, what's the situation in the West Sea Dragon Palace? Jianghu reported the situation in the West Sea Dragon Palace to Xiao Hua. Under Jianghu's iron fist and the Dragon Envoy's connivance, Jianghu had basically controlled the West Sea Dragon Palace, and the East Sea Dragon Palace's first prince and West Sea Dragon Palace's first prince were mere figureheads. However, Jianghu had received Lu Yi's message and knew that the Fortune Gate's disciples had another way out, so she hurried back to the Fortune Gate to wait for Xiao Hua's orders. Since you've come back, you must have made your choice. Xiao Hua looked at Jianghu and Lu Yi meaningfully. Yes, the disciples have already made some preliminary considerations. Fuji Wen was the closest to Xiao Hua, so he took the initiative to speak first. However, he only spoke first. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua did not give him the chance and waved his hand and said, you all don't need to talk about your plans for the time being. This old man has good news for you. Master. Fuji Wen and the others were greatly surprised and asked, is there no need for us to choose? Making a choice is difficult, just like when I faced the six-eared macaque. Xiao Hua says with a smile, however, there are countless choices in life, and every choice determines the path you want to take. Therefore, choice is necessary. How to make a choice without regrets is the most important. Speaking of this, Xiao Hua talked about the matter of daybreak continents, heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, and finally said, in other words, at this point, the three continents' doomsday calamity has new hope again. However, this hope is only a glimmer of hope. I can't guarantee that this glimmer of hope will illuminate all four continents. Similarly, I can't guarantee that I will be able to break the immortal formation. Therefore, your previous choice may change now. Yes, disciple understands. I will discuss it again later. Fuji Wen nods, glances at Lu Yi and the others and answers in unison. Master. Yuan Ye hears and says curiously, isn't Dai from the 10,000 demon realm? Why didn't you tell her that you were going to the 10,000 demon realm? What do you think? Xiao Hua asks with interest. Disciple doesn't know. Yuan Ye shakes his head, but disciple is afraid that master will forget Dai, so I reminded you. Xiao Hua looks at Yuan Ye, but does not open his mouth to explain. When Xiao Hua knows that he can go to Daybreak Continent through the 10,000 demon realm, he has already considered how to pass through the 10,000 demon realm. He knows that there are two candidates in the 10,000 demon realm. One is the little white dragon, the other is naturally Dai. Facing these two demon clans, Xiao Hua's choice is very clear. He first eliminates Dai. The reason is very simple, because of the 10,000 demon realm empress. The 10,000 demon realm empress is suppressed in Daybreak Continent. Although the demon clan suppressing her is also from the 10,000 demon realm, it is undeniable that Wolf Clan Dongshan Yi must have received help from other cultivators in Daybreak Continent. In particular, Dai was also humiliated by human cultivators in Sky Patrol City. If Dai returns to the 10,000 Demon Realm and tells the Demon King about the Empress, the Demon King will definitely try his best to go to Daybreak Continent. Xiao Hua does not dare to think about what will happen at that time. Realm War? Therefore, Xiao Hua still wanted to rely on his own strength to rescue the Empress of the 10,000 Demon Realm and help her capture Dongshan Yi of the Wolf Clan. This could also be considered as settling the karma of the 10,000 Demon Realm's Empress Xianwan in the Dawn Rain Continent. However, when Xiao Hua released Yuanya, he already had some ideas. Because he returned to Daybreak Continent this time to save the 3 continents, he may not have the time to care about the grudges of the 10,000 Demon Realm Empress. Although he knows that the 10,000 Demon Realm Empress Xianwan has been very kind to him, compared to the life and death of hundreds of millions of creatures in the 3 continents, Xiao Hua can only put this kindness behind. Xiao Hua even has a final plan. If he really can't topple the 3 peaks and break the immortal array, he can only rely on Dai, or Xianwan to return to the 10,000 Demon Realm. At that time, only Xiao Hua can return the favor to Xianwan and let her have no grudges against Daybreak Continent. Only then can he smoothly return to the 3 continents from the 10,000 Demon Realm. Master already has some thoughts. Xiao Hua smiled. There is no need to tell Dai, now. Jianghu. Disciple is here. Jianghu immediately understood Xiao Hua's meaning and hurriedly bowed in agreement. Pass the order to disciple. Xiao Hua ordered, but changed his words in a moment. No, you personally go and invite Xiao Bai to the Fortune Dao Palace. When Jianghu heard this, her expression was a little gloomy and she bowed. Disciple understands, disciple will go now. Oi. Xiao Hua said again, before you have a choice, do your best to find traces of the Queen Mayfly in the 4 seas. If there is anything strange, don't let it go. Master, rest assured. Lu Yi bowed. Disciple received Senior Brother Fu's message and has already started. Good. Xiao Hua nodded with a smile. At this time, Huang Tong asked in her heart, fellow Taoist Xiao, our disciples. Why don't we divide them according to seniority? Fu Jiwen just called Lu Yi Senior Brother Lu, and now Lu Yi is calling Fu Jiwen Senior Brother Fu. When they address each other, it seems like they are trying to avoid this question. Chapter 4753. Xiao Hua came back to his senses. He pondered for a moment and said to Lu Yi and the others, Master remembered that you all don't need to be ranked according to seniority for the time being. Before Master ascends, we will decide the senior brothers' positions. Now that our Fortune Gate's 10 masters are all here, you all should arrange your seats. Xiao Hua's words startled all the disciples. After all, they had accompanied Xiao Hua for tens of thousands of years. Today they all understood the reason behind Xiao Hua's words. Master. All the disciples knelt down and kowtowed. Tears flowed from their eyes. Sooner or later we will have to leave. Xiao Hua's eyes were also wet. He flicked his sleeves and helped everyone up. Master is just greeting you all in advance. Moreover, Master doesn't have much time left. I still want to use the remaining time to resolve the crisis of the 3 continents. Aye, Master. Fu Jiwen sighed and kowtowed. As far as Disciple knows, Disciple didn't know before. Now that Disciple's cultivation is high and Disciple has met more Confucian cultivators, Disciple knows that after reaching the peak of 9th grade essence force, many Confucian cultivators will close their doors and refuse guests. They will rely on the will of the heavens to prepare for the tribulation. How about you? Even now, you are still wholeheartedly working for the survival of the billions of existences in the 3 continents. Take a look at the sovereigns, Immortal Emperor Go Qin Virokana Revered Venerable, what are they doing? Not to mention, you are not a cultivator of the 3 continents. Don't think of Master as too noble. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, it is impossible to say that I didn't make any preparations. Moreover, Master has more confidence than others. That is why I have the spare time to do these things. As for whether Master is a cultivator of the 3 continents, it doesn't matter. Because this space is the 4 great continents, I am a cultivator of the 4 great continents. Finally, Xiao Hua smiled at everyone and said, Master still has to discuss with your martial uncles how to break the seal. You all can go and do your own things. Yes, Master. Lu Yi and the other disciples didn't dare to delay and respectfully bowed and left. After the disciples left, when Chu said, Master Xiao Lei, because of the evil physique, the evil sovereign couldn't control the cauldrons and couldn't set up the 9 provinces grand formation. Now, with fellow immortal Huang Tong, this formation can be set up, right? This Xiao Hua was somewhat hesitant. After a moment he said, the 9 regions great array is very important to the hidden immortal continent, but compared to the immortal array, it is much lighter. Moreover, if the great array of the 9 states was set up, the space passage from the 1,000 demons sacred realm to the 10,000 demons realm would be cut off. Also, I and Huang Tong have to comprehend the space law and the space escape technique. I'm afraid we don't have time to comprehend the secret techniques of the Confucian cultivators. Huang Tong heard this and asked Wen Chu about the array. She thought for a moment and said, let me see the secret technique of the celestial palace. After Xiao Hua took out the jade eye, Huang Tong looked at it and smiled. Daoist Xiao, I think we should first try to understand the heart secret technique of the celestial palace. You and I are one, so it is easy to understand this technique. With this technique we can share our understanding with all of you. Why not? Sweat. Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You and I are one. We are born to share our understanding. Why bother? Hee Daoist Xiao, you should try it first. Huang Tong smiled and said mysteriously. After Xiao Hua activated the secret technique that he had already comprehended, a moment later, a trace of understanding appeared on Xiao Hua's face. He nodded and said, I understand. The secret technique of the heavenly court is a kind of skill, and the sharing of our understanding is a kind of foundation. With this secret technique, not only can our minds be expanded, but it can also be closely integrated. In this mind we can speed up the sharing of our understanding. It can be regarded as adding wings to a tiger. Yes, the space escape technique of the Shenyuan space is unique. It is not comparable to the 4 great continents. I can take advantage of this time to share this space escape technique with all of you. Huang Tong smiled and said, and Feng Wu can also share his understanding of the Star Moon Palace with I. Good. Xiao Hua clapped and praised. Since that is the case, let us quickly start cultivating. As Xiao Hua activated the Throne of Fortune, the 10 thrones once again roared and linked together in the void, forming a connected ring of light. Another 10 days later, outside the Yuanxi Reef Plain, a white dragon descended from the sky. It was Xiao Bai who had received Xiao Hua's order and had flown back from his training. Before Xiao Bai could land, a 9-colored rainbow shot out from the Fortune Taoist Palace, wrapped around Xiao Bai's body, and pulled him into the Fortune Taoist Palace. Little White Dragon felt as if his body was being pulled by a vast and invincible force. Light flashed in front of his eyes, and when he saw the 10 supreme cultivators sitting on the 10 fortune thrones on the high platform, a sense of reverence rose in his heart. He bowed respectfully and said, Xiao Bai greets the Fortune Gate's masters. Xiao Bai, get up. There is no need to be polite. Xiao Hua waved his hand and helped Xiao Bai up. He smiled and said, there are some friends you are familiar with and some you are not. Let me introduce them to you. Xiao Bai was the closest to Daoist Yun, Daoist Witch and Xiao Hua. However, when facing Feng Wu, Archdevil Shi, and Huang Tong, an inexplicable fear involuntarily rose in his heart. He obediently greeted the 9 masters one by one before standing below the high platform again. Xiao Bai. Xiao Hua glanced at the somewhat reserved Xiao Bai and said, I called you here today to tell you that I have found a way to go to the 10,000 demon realm. Really? Xiao Bai was overjoyed when he heard this. He shouted, you found a spatial passage? If so, then can we return to the Dawn Rain continent? That should be the case. Xiao Hua nodded, but I am not very confident. Moreover, this spatial passage is temporary, so I cannot bring many people over. I understand. Xiao Bai nodded, I will enter the Kunlun paradise. Oh, if possible, I want to bring my... bring them along. Xiao Hua was speechless when he heard this. He said faintly, I called you here today to ask about the situation of the 10,000 demon realm. I want you to be prepared to go with me and find the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent. Xiao Bai shrugged and said innocently, yes, big brother, I am also willing to go with you to the 10,000 demon realm. I am also willing to accompany you to find the spatial passage. I am even more willing to accompany you to the Dawn Rain continent. However, now that the world-destroying mayfly has caused a disaster, the 3 continents are about to be destroyed. Even the old ancestor is a little abnormal. Others may not know, but how can I not know? Now that I have the opportunity, even if I don't care about myself, I can't not care about them. Besides, Big Brother's Kunlun paradise is huge. It doesn't matter whether they are there or not, right? Chapter 4754. You've defeated me. Xiao Hua laughed. You're right, the emperor doesn't send hungry soldiers. If you want to work for me, how can I not give you benefits? Hee, that's good, that's good. Little White Dragon's heart was finally at ease. Then he asked, what does Big Brother want to know about the 10,000 demon realm? Don't worry. Xiaohua thought of something again. His eyes turned and he said in a low voice, I remember that when I talked to the seven-colored sea god Shell about going to the outer realm, she said that if we found the realm passage she would go with us. You think she will enter the Kunlun immortal realm? This Little White Dragon hesitated and replied, Big Brother, I don't know. After all, once she enters your Kunlun wonderland, her life is in your hands. I believe Big Brother, Bibbo and the others also believe Big Brother, but whether the old ancestor believes, I really don't know. Well, when you go back and pack up, ask her. Xiaohua smiled cutely. If she wants, she can take Bei Ming with her to the 10,000 demon realm. Okay. Little White Dragon knew what Xiaohua was thinking. He smiled bitterly. Once Big Brother mentioned Minghua, even if the old ancestor doesn't want to go, she has to go. Big Brother has pulled another powerful helper. Is it? How could Xiaohua admit it? He said disdainfully, I'm afraid she will turn against me when she goes to the 10,000 demon realm. It turns out that Little Brother misunderstood Big Brother. Little White Dragon laughed. I thought Big Brother wanted to move the fortune gate to the 10,000 demon realm. You want the old ancestor to be your vanguard. I want to. Xiaohua's face showed bitterness and pride. He said, but now I don't know if my disciples are willing to move to the 10,000 demon realm. How is that possible? They don't want to go to the 10,000 demon realm? Then where do they want to go? Dawn Rain Continent? Little White Dragon was a little puzzled, but looking at Xiaohua's expression, he suddenly realized and said in surprise, I understand, Big Brother, do they not want to go? They want to fight the world-destroying ephemera in the West Sea? It's not clear now, but I'm afraid so. Xiaohua nodded. When they didn't know that the immortal array could be broken, they were a little hesitant. Now that they know that I found a way to break the formation, I think they won't hesitate anymore. Big Brother. Little White Dragon smiled bitterly. You humans have a saying that goes, one is marked by the company one keeps. I really don't know what to say. You are so merciful and your disciple is also so merciful. If others don't know the truth, they would think that your disciples are crazy. They still have a long way to go and they will make their own choices in the future. Although I don't know if their choice today is true or not, I am already very pleased. Xiaohua said proudly, let's not talk about this anymore. Tell me about the situation in the 10,000 demon realm. The 10,000 demon realm. Little White Dragon pondered for a moment and said, it's a huge continent with mountains, water, and seas. Speaking of this, Little White Dragon suddenly remembered something and said curiously, Big Brother, I remember that I wrote all the things about the 10,000 demon realm in the dragon shell and handed it to you. Why are you suddenly asking me? You still have the nerve to talk about what you gave me. Xiaohua's face was full of disdain as he replied, in addition to telling me that the 10,000 demon realm is huge, there are many demon races, mountains, water, and seas. Oh, and that you grew up in a place called the Gale Abyss. There are many swamps near the Gale Abyss. And then, how did you meet Minghua? And then. Speaking of this, Xiaohua suddenly stopped, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. I understand. That old shell. After all, she didn't believe me, nor did she believe you. She was afraid that there was something in your memory that would harm Bei Ming, or expose Bei Ming's secret. She didn't completely unlock your seal. Little White Dragon listened, let out a long sigh, and said, Old Ancestor was probably afraid of being hunted by the Sea Clan, so she didn't do anything. Forget it. Xiaohua thought for a moment and waved his hand. I underestimated Old Shell and put all my hopes on you. Of course, Old Shell also has a conscience and unlocked some of your seals. At least let me know that there is a metal and wood mountain in the 10,000 demon realm. Go, Little White, go and tell Old Shell that if she wants to follow me to the 10,000 demon realm, find the place where Bei Ming used to live, and escape from the world-exterminating ephemera, she must obediently unseal you completely. Yes, Big Brother. Little White Dragon said embarrassedly, Little Brother didn't help you, I'm really sorry. Why are you saying this to Big Brother? Xiaohua replied, go back and pack up, then come to the Yuanshi Reef Plain. When Big Brother sets off, I will bring you all along. Thank you, Big Brother. Little White Dragon said, bowed and left the Zhaohua Palace. Damn old shell. Do you think I can only rely on you to get information about the 10,000 demon realm? Xiaohua gritted his teeth and cursed. He knew in his heart that if he wanted to get information about the 10,000 demon realm, he would have to ask Old Shell to unseal Little White Dragon. No matter what, Old Shell would definitely put forward other conditions, and even use this matter to threaten him. Of course, Xiaohua could also ask for the 7-colored sea god Shell's descendants, but these descendants were also little white dragon's descendants, and Xiaohua would not be ashamed to do so. Xiaohua thought about it and then sighed, "Forget it, Old Shell, you want me to beg you, you are really thinking too much. I don't need you." While speaking, Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and sent Dai out of Xinhua continent. Seeing Yuanya leave Xinhua continent and go back, Dai thought that she would be out soon, but she did not expect that she would wait for so long. Today, being sent out by Xiaohua, she was not particularly surprised, and her expression was calm. However, when she saw the 10 Fortune Gate Masters sitting on the fortune thrones in the void above the high platform, each of them had a different aura, and each of them had a mysterious aura, her heart could not help but tighten, and she hurriedly bowed and said, "Dai greets the seniors. Dai get up." When Xiaohua spoke, his throne abruptly expanded. His figure also covered a large area of the void like a round sun, and the other 9 old masters became brilliant stars that adorned the void behind him. Yes, Daoist Xiao. Dai did not understand the situation and did not dare to speak carelessly. She only greeted Xiaohua as Daoist Xiao and immediately got up. "Give it a reward and thank you for all forms of support." Chapter 4755. Seeing the shock on Dai's face and the trace of panic in her eyes, Xiaohua understood that his and the others might have given her a great shock, so he slowly opened his mouth and said, "Today this old man called you out because I have something to discuss with you." Dai hurriedly bowed and said, "Daoist master can tell me anything, there is nothing to discuss, this junior will listen to your orders." "Good." Xiaohua nodded. "When we were in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, this old man had already told you that this is one of the 3 continents, a different realm from the Dawn Rain continent and the 10,000 Demons realm. Now this realm has encountered a calamity. As for the specific situation, this old man will let Yuanya tell you later. Now, this Xiao has found a way to go to the 10,000 Demons realm, and then return to the Dawn Rain continent through the 10,000 Demons realm, so I hope you can tell this old man the situation of the 10,000 Demons realm. In addition, if you know the space channel from the 10,000 Demons realm to the Dawn Rain continent, you can also tell this old man." "Really? Really want to return to the 10,000 Demons realm?" Dai was really surprised and happy, her face was full of disbelief. However, in a moment Dai realized that it was inappropriate and quickly bowed. "This junior has been rude, please forgive me." "It's okay." Xiaohua smiled. "Anyone who knows that they can return to their hometown will be excited, this old man is very understanding. However, the situation of the 3 continents is very urgent now, this old man needs your help." Yes, this junior knows." Dai nodded like a chicken pecking rice and said, "However, this junior went to the Dawn Rain continent with the Empress last time, it was an accident. The Empress didn't seem to know the space channel to the Dawn Rain continent, but when we were traveling, we were suddenly involved in a space storm and fell into the Dawn Rain continent." Xiaohua was inevitably a little disappointed, but he also knew that Dai would not lie to him. So he asked again, "If so, can you roughly explain the situation of the 10,000 Demons realm?" 10,000 Demons realm? Hearing Xiaohua ask about the 10,000 Demons realm, Dai's face unconsciously showed embarrassment. She smiled and said, "Daoist Master Xiao, this junior." See. When Xiaohua saw Dai like this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. When he first saw Dai she was just a cute child. How could she know the situation of the 10,000 Demon realm? Sure enough, Dai continued, "Junior grew up in the Heavenly Fortune Palace and has never left the Sky Rain realm. When the Empress married the Demon King Mo Sa, Junior and these sisters accompanied us to live in the Qin School Palace. The Qin School Palace is in the Tsang Yuan realm and is not suitable for the life of Tian clan, so Junior rarely goes out. Therefore, this Junior is not particularly familiar with the 10,000 Demon realm. It's even worse than the Dawn Rain continent." "It's okay," Xiaohua said with a smile. "Tell me what you know. For example, were the Sky Rain realm and the Tsangyuan realm just some realms? Is the celestial race the ancient celestial race?" Seeing that Xiaohua's expression did not show any displeasure or disappointment, the pressure in Dai's heart suddenly decreased, but she still carefully said, "Let Jinren know that the 10,000 Demon realm is not like the human race in the Dawn Rain continent, where the country is the boundary, but the boundary is the country. Junior is not sure how many realms there are in the 10,000 Demon realm, but Junior knows that my Heavenly Feather clan is in the Sky Rain realm and the Heavenly Eagle clan is in the Sky Rending realm. As for the others, this junior's memory is already fuzzy. The Heavenly Feather Clan and the Heavenly Eagle Clan live at the top of the sky, so they are called the Celestial Race. Junior does not know if they are the Celestial Race that Senior mentioned. Because the Celestial Race is above the 10,000 Demon Realm, they are also called the Higher Race. In addition to the Higher Race, there are also the Water Race and the Lower Race. The Lower Race lives on the ground. For example, the East Mountainee who sneak attacked the Empress. The Wolf Race killed the Lower Race and the Lizard Race, Leopard Race and so on. The Water Race is naturally the Water Race that lives in the rivers and lakes. The Shell Race and the Fish Race are all water races. In addition to the Higher Race, Lower Race and Water Race, there are also the Spirit Race and the Origin Race. Junior is not particularly clear. However, Junior knows that Demon King Mo-Sa is from the Origin Race. This Origin Race seems to be the most mysterious race in the 10,000 Demon Realm. According to legend, it is the oldest race that existed after the formation of the 10,000 Demon Realm. Then Dai-Er said some things that she could still remember. Unfortunately, she was young at that time and had passed through the Heaven Prison. Based on the time gap, she had not experienced the 10,000 Demon Realm at all. Her words, other than giving Xiaohua a rough understanding of the 10,000 Demon Realm, did not have much use for him to understand the 10,000 Demon Realm. After Dai-Er finished, Xiaohua pondered for a moment and asked in a low voice, Dai-Er, this old man is not inquiring about the secrets of the Empress. Tell me, the Empress came to the Dawn Rain continent to experience the world? Or is there another purpose? This Dai-Er was really embarrassed. She thought for a moment and replied, the Empress came to the Dawn Rain continent, naturally to experience the world. However, she is indeed looking for a great sage who is still missing in the 10,000 Demon Realm. A great sage in the 10,000 Demon Realm? Xiaohua was stunned and asked curiously, the 10,000 Demon Realm also has a great sage? Yes. Dai-Er nodded and said, the 10,000 Demon Realm naturally has a great sage. This great sage is my 10,000 Demon Realm's title for the great beings. Could it be that the Dawn Rain continent also has a great sage? The Dawn Rain continent doesn't seem to have a great sage. Xiaohua understood and said with a smile, however, the Great Sage Hall of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm has a great sage. With that, Xiaohua pointed at Feng Wu and said, this is the Great Sage Hall's first great sage, Heaven-Defying Thunder Phoenix. Greetings, great sage. Dai-Er glanced at Feng Wu and hurriedly bowed again. Feng Wu smiled and said, the great sage that the Empress is looking for. Who is it? This Dai-Er hesitated again, but Feng Wu said, since we already know that it is a great sage who has disappeared for a long time, when I reach the 10,000 Demon Realm, won't I know after asking around? Dai-Er knew that everything was now in the hands of Xiaohua, and Xiaohua was Yuanye's master. She had no other choice but to believe in Xiaohua. Of course, she was also willing to believe in Xiaohua. I won't hide it from Taoist Master Xiao. Dai-Er said, this junior knows some secrets of the Heavenly Feather Clan, and also some secrets of the Empress. These secrets shouldn't be told to others, but in order to save the Empress, this junior can tell some of the Empress's secrets. However, Senior, please don't force this junior to ask about the secrets of the Heavenly Feather Clan. Xiaohua smiled and said, if you don't say it, this old man naturally won't force you. How about this matter will end here. Can you tell me about the strength of the great sage in the 10,000 Demon Realm? Alright, how strong was the Empress that day? Chapter 4756. Seeing that Xiaohua did not even ask about Xianhuan, Dai-Er was overjoyed and hurriedly replied, this junior knows. Empress once said that she is an ocean powerhouse of the 10,000 Demon Realm. When she arrived at the Dawn Rain continent, she may be suppressed by the rules of the realm and can only have the strength of the peak of the spirit severing stage. As for the 10,000 Demon Realm's great sage, they are generally stronger than ordinary sun powerhouses. As for their specific strength, this junior cannot guess blindly. Dai-Er's words were not out of Xiaohua's expectations. Dai-Er was young before, and now she was not at the 9th level of essence power. She could not know the true strength of the 10,000 Demon Realm's great sage. However, Dai-Er's words still made Xiaohua's heart skip a beat. The rules of the realm. Yes, the immature realm from before has the rules of the Shenhua continent. The 3 continents and the Dawn Rain continent are the same realm, and the rules are the same. However, the 10,000 Demon Realm is not the same realm as the 4 major continents. The rules there must be different from the 4 major continents. If Empress's strength is suppressed here, then what about me? Xiaohua secretly thought, if I go to the 10,000 demon realm, won't my strength be suppressed too? However, if the spiritual realm in my space is similar to the 10,000 demon realm, then my strength should not be affected too much. Xiao Hua pondered, but Feng Wu asked curiously, Dire, how is the strength of the 10,000 demon realm divided? What are the levels of the ocean powerhouses and sun powerhouses? I will let Phoenix Sage know. Dire laughed. This junior remembers the most clearly. The strength of the 10,000 demon realm is divided into 3 levels, corresponding to the 3 levels of heaven, earth, and demon. Within the heaven realm, there are sun powerhouses, moon powerhouses, and star powerhouses. Within the earth realm, there are ocean powerhouses, earth powerhouses, and mountain powerhouses. As for the demon realm, it is a bit troublesome. My upper clan is divided into clear cloud powerhouses, flowing cloud powerhouses, and wind powerhouses. The lower clan is divided into rock powerhouses, sand powerhouses, and dust powerhouses. The origin clan is divided into spiritualized demon, intelligent demon, and barbaric demon. The water clan. This junior does not know, but it is more called great demon, medium demon, and small demon. Is it that simple? Feng Wu asked curiously, Isn't this a little too crude? Dai covered her mouth and laughed. Yes, that day when the Empress heard that the Xiaoyu Continent's Tao sect was divided into Qi refining, foundation establishment, gold core, nascent soul, spirit severing, void refining, combination, Mahayana, and tribulation passing, she was also very surprised. She even praised that the human race was indeed worthy of the title of the soul of all creatures. This was not flattering themselves, just the division of realms alone was something that our 10,000 demon realm could not do. TSK. Xiao Hua criticized in his heart when he heard this. This is merely the Taoist sect's division of realms and Daybreak Continent. If you know the 3 continents, Confucian cultivators, Taoist sects, Buddhist sects, and also the demon race's division of realms, then you'll be even more flabbergasted. The cultivation methods of each sect are different, and their realms are different as well. If not for the fact that the Confucian cultivators have divided their elemental energy into levels, it would really be hard to compare them. Oh yes, in the 10,000 demon realm, in addition to the division of heaven, earth, and demon realm, the most common race is the ordinary spirit race. We divide the ordinary spirit race into great spirit, middle spirit, and small spirit. Dai seemed to have thought of something again and hurriedly added. Seeing that Dai finished and did not speak again, Xiao Hua smiled and said, Is there anything else? There's. Dai whispered as she pondered. After a moment she shook her head and said, Junior really doesn't know anything else. Please forgive me. Xiao Hua nodded and smiled. You were so young when you left the 10,000 demon realm, it's already good that you can remember so much. Dai smiled and asked again, Junior hasn't seen Little Yellow for a long time, how is he now? Little Yellow and Little Black are cultivating. When they come out, I'm afraid they will be able to catch up to your cultivation. Xiao Hua explained, Dai, you also have to seize the time to cultivate. No way? Dai was dumbfounded. How could Little Yellow? However, after a moment Dai smiled bitterly and said, Empress is right, Little Yellow must be the strange demon Di Ting. His future is not something this junior can compare with. No matter how powerful Little Yellow is, you are still his sister. Xiao Hua smiled. You should be happy to have such a powerful brother. Yes. Dai's face showed a happy smile. Dai Huang Tong suddenly asked, If we go to the 10,000 demon realm and agree to let you leave, who will you pass the news of Empress to? This Dai hesitated again. Logically speaking, she should pass this news to Demon King Mo Sa as soon as possible. However, she could not explain why Xianwan was stranded in the Dawn Rain continent. Dai could tell Taoist Master Xiao, Feng Wu, or even anyone else about Xianwan's search for the missing great sage. But she couldn't tell Demon King Masa. Moreover, she knew that although she could not say it, Demon King Mo Sa had a way to get the truth from her mouth. Other than Demon King Mo Sa, Dai could only send a message to the Flying Feather Clan's Heavenly Blessing Palace. But the problem was that Xianwan was already married to Demon King Mo Sa. How could the Heavenly Blessing Palace make a move? At this moment Dai finally understood the sorrow on Xianwan's face when she was plotted against by Dong Shanyi. She had already seen the desperation when she used the cocoon and the indifference when she sent the pure feather into her body. This was because she clearly knew her end. It was an unsolvable death trap. It was a death trap that no one could solve. After Dai woke up, her eyes flashed with a pale golden light. She looked from Xiao Hua and Taoist Xiao to Huang Tong. Suddenly she was enlightened and immediately knelt on the ground. Die. Pleads Taoist Xiao, pleads all the seniors to make a move and save Empress. What happened to Empress in the Dawn Rain continent was all done by Dong Shani. Empress is merciful and will never make things difficult for any human on the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua raised his hand to help Dai up and said, "This old man has already agreed to save Empress and will also let you and Ya go with you. But today we will return through the 10,000 demon realm. This old man does not want to hide anything from you, so I will listen to your opinion again. Since you still want this old man to make a move, then when this old man takes you to the 10,000 demon realm, you do not need to return to the heavenly blessing palace." Yes, this junior understands. Dai nodded. This junior cannot return to the heavenly blessing palace at this time. Only after rescuing Empress can this junior return to the Sky Rain world. That's good. Xiaohua smiled. This old man needs something to go to the 10,000 demon realm. I hope you can provide it. What does Taoist Xiao want? Dai was puzzled. She looked at Xiaohua in bewilderment, her mind turning rapidly. Chapter 4757. Seeing that Dai still didn't understand, Xiaohua had to answer, "Of course it's the language of the demon realm. I don't understand the language of the demon realm, so won't I become a deaf person? A mute?" "Oh, so that's what you mean." Dai suddenly realized and hurriedly took out a jade slip from her waist, handed it over and said, "I'll let you know that there are countless spirit clans in the demon realm. Every spirit clan has a different language. Although some spirit clans can solve the problem of not being able to communicate with each other, the effect is not good." After that, the Divine Mother of Peacock of the Phoenix Sacred Realm comprehended a spiritual language. Both demons with cultivation and mortals without cultivation could use it. This spiritual language became the common language of the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua took the jade slip and released his divine sense. Feng Wu glanced at Huang Tong and asked Dai, in your demon realm, are there phoenixes?" "Yes. The Phoenix clan is the royal clan of the upper clans, how can there be no phoenixes?" Dai answered without hesitation. "The Phoenix Sacred Realm has the Phoenix clan, Peacock, Spirit Void, and so on." Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat and he said, "Dai, is there a dragon clan in the demon realm?" "Dragon clan?" That face was a little blank as if she didn't understand. She asked curiously, "What kind of spirit clan is the dragon clan?" Reverend Yun growled and unfolded his dragon body and said, "I am a dragon clan." "Maybe, maybe not." Dai shook her head, "But I've never heard of it." "Then there must be none." Xiaohua shook his head, "If there is a dragon clan, you must have heard of it." Reverend Yun asked, "Then among the lower clans, the Water clan and the Origin clan, which are the royal clans?" "The lower clans seem to be the Lion clan and the Tiger clan. As for the Water clan, it should be the Leopard Whale clan. As for the Origin clan, I really don't know." Dai's words sounded a little hesitant, as if her words were specious. Reverend Yun said curiously, "That's strange. The demon realm is the realm of all spirits, the paradise of the demon clan. How can there be no dragon clan?" "Don't forget." Xiaohua smiled, "If there's no dragon clan there will be pythons." Xiao Bai's dragon transformation art was obtained by chance in the 10,000 demon realm. Xiao Bai's original form is a python. The Python clan is a lower clan in our 10,000 demon realm. Dai hurriedly said, "Their status is similar to the lizard clan." "All right." Xiaohua nodded. "Dai, you go back and cultivate first. When we reach the 10,000 demon realm, if there is a need, this old man will ask you to come out. Otherwise, the next time you come out it will be time for you to meet the Empress." "Yes, I will listen to your instructions." Dai had no objections to Xiaohua's arrangements. She bowed and entered the Xinhua continent. These two. Xiaohua laughed. One was still young when he left the 10,000 demon realm, so he didn't know anything. One was that his memory still hadn't recovered, so it seemed like he had asked for nothing. "I can only wait until I get to the 10,000 demon realm. And deal with the changes by sticking to the status quo." "No matter." Huang Tong flapped her wings and said, "We are not going to stay in the 10,000 demon realm." After entering the 10,000 demon realm, he immediately inquired about the location of the metal and wood elemental magnetism. After taking the elemental magnetism, he immediately went to the space passage in Xiao Bai's memory. Who cares if there is something in the 10,000 demon realm that we don't know about? "That's true." Xiaohua laughed involuntarily and said, "This time is the most critical. If we can break the array a day earlier we can save a lot of lives." We can't delay at all. The trivial matters have been dealt with. Let's seize the time to comprehend the space escape technique. Huang Tong saw the situation and urged, in my previous opinion, fellow Taoist Xiao must comprehend this space escape technique in order to borrow my Dharma body. We can pass through the restriction between the two realms together. By the way, fellow Taoist Xiao, can you lend me the 100-beast flag to refine? The soul in the 100-beast flag is very similar to my supernatural power. Of course. Xiao Hua did not hesitate and gave the 100-beast flag to Huang Tong. Then he thought for a moment and threw the yin-yang illustration book to the Thunder Immortal and said, fellow Taoist Thunder, we don't need to cultivate any primordial spirit and trusting technique. You can refine this yin-yang illustration book into the soul-slaying light. No problem. The Thunder Immortal took the yin-yang illustration book and shouted happily. Also, Xiao Hua opened his mouth again and 8 cauldrons flew out, landing in front of the 8 doppelgangers. Xiao Hua then instructed, fellow Taoists, this Xiao will refine the Yu cauldron. As for the other 8 cauldrons, please help me refine them. Seeing the doppelgangers put away the 9 province cauldrons, Xiao Hua did not dare to be negligent. He roared and once again activated the throne of creation. The rumbling sound came from the void again. Then a black and white light overflowed from the void. First, it slowly enveloped the 10 thrones, then the high platform and finally the entire creation Taoist palace. The black and white light was twisting, elongating and compressing. Indescribable waves of energy were emitted from the inside. When the fluctuations fell into the air, the surrounding void was torn apart. It was more terrifying than the attacks of the supreme experts of the 3 continents. This strange phenomenon lasted for 3 whole years. On the 4th year, the black and white light began to turn into spots. The spots looked like butterflies fluttering around the Yuanxi reef. However, within each spot, there were countless strange scenes reflected. Some were demon realms, some were Buddhist kingdoms, some were villages and some were lakes. There were all kinds of strange creatures in them. Between these spots, there were the shadows of the 5 elements primordial beasts dancing and running around. This strange scene also lasted for more than 3 years. On the 7th year, the spots gradually turned into fine lines. As the fine lines spread out, the entire space of the creation Taoist palace became transparent. Xiao Hua's Transcendence Golden Body, Thunder Reverend's Thunder Tao Body, Wen Chu's Noble True Body, Maitreya's Buddha Golden Body, Feng Wu's Demon Body, Taoist Witch's Green Seal Shaman Body, Reverend Yun's 5-clawed True Dragon Body, Celestial Being's Desolate White Bone Body, Overlord Shi's Spirit-Slaying Devil Body, and Huang Tong's Soul-Devouring Demon Body. All of them had turned into the size of an indomitable spirit, appearing and disappearing in the space. Waves of terrifying aura rushed out of the Yuanxi reef. Not to mention the waves of the West Sea, even the sky above was filled with lightning and thunder. On the last year, countless shadows that looked like passageways, cracks, and even rainbow bridges rolled around the Yuanxi reef. A huge space vortex replaced the creation Taoist palace and appeared in the sky. Inside the vortex, countless stars fell. The shadows of the sun and moon were torn apart. Mountains, rivers, and mountains were all destroyed. Worlds were also born and destroyed in the vortex. Finally, with a loud rumble, the 10th master of the creation gate, Huang Tong's Transcendence Golden Body was born in the vortex. Then Xiao Hua's Transcendence Golden Body flashed rapidly. After 81 times, it turned into Xiao Hua's Transcendence Golden Body. Xiao Hua's Transcendence Golden Body raised its hand and grabbed. All the strange phenomena were caught in its hand. Even the lightning and thunder, the surging waves, and the shifting of the stars were all absorbed into its body. Chapter 4758. Xiao Hua softly sighed, a sound that was comparable to the sound of ghosts and gods. Xiao Hua's tightly closed eyes slightly opened. Perhaps it was the light of thunder, or perhaps it was the brightness of the sun and moon. Immediately, the entire space was illuminated by this light. As this light spread out, the spatial anomaly slowly calmed down. Subsequently, the fortune throne appeared and Xiao Hua sat down. After the radiance faded, his avatars also appeared. Shua. After Xiao Hua and his avatars appeared, their figures rapidly shrank and fell into the Fortune Tao Palace that appeared in the void. Then Xiao Hua's dignified voice sounded in the Yuanxi Reef Plain, "Disciples, enter the Fortune Tao Palace." In these 10 years, the Fortune Gate's disciples naturally didn't dare to stray too far from the Yuanxi Reef Plain. They cultivated on their own and waited for Xiao Hua and the others to come out of seclusion. Now that they heard the sect master's command, they hurriedly flew into the Fortune Tao Palace. Princess Zixia, Princess Qing Qing Bai, and Yu Xiaojing and the others come in as well. Xiaohua's voice sounded again. Princess Zixia and the others understood Xiaohua's meaning and hurriedly flew in without any hesitation. Everyone stood still and looked at the void high in the sky. The Fortune Gate sect master and the 10 old masters were no different from before. After everyone finished greeting each other, Xiaohua impatiently asked, Lu Yi, have you found the Queen Mayfly? Reporting to sect master. Lu Yi hurriedly answered, there has been no trace of the Queen Mayfly in the Western Sea. Moreover, from the current situation, there has been no news from the Immortal Palace, Lightning Toon Temple, Dragon Island, or Great Holy Hall. I'm afraid they haven't found it yet. Xiaohua sighed and asked again, what's the situation of the 3 mainlands? Lu Yi bit his lips and said in a low voice, day by day, year by year. The end of the world is imminent. Xiaohua raised his head and looked outside the Fortune Dao Palace. Although the sun was still shining on the Western Sea, there was a faint grayish-black color between heaven and earth. This color had already covered all vitality. 3 years ago, the Lightning Toon Temple sent a simple message. Fujiwen said in a low voice, the Virokana has determined that the end of the 3 mainlands will happen within 100 years. 100 years. Just 100 years. Xiaohua's eyes flashed with a complicated expression. It's just a seclusion, everything is about to be destroyed. Yes. All the disciples were silent. Fujiwen looked at Xiaohua's expression and said, Master, there is one more thing. Disciple doesn't know if I did the right thing? What happened? Xiaohua looked at Fujiwen. He knew that if it was an ordinary matter, Fujiwen would never say this. There must have been a huge change. Fujiwen hesitated for a moment and said, when the Mahavairakana World Venerable sent the message, he also sent 50,000 heavenly guardians to escort the 500,000 young bodhisattvas. That hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He knew that the Mahavairakana revered one had found out that he had found a way to leave the 3 continents. Sure enough, Fujiwen said, after these heavenly kings and arhats arrived, they didn't say anything and just sat outside the Fortune Dao Palace. No matter how the disciples asked, they refused to speak. However, when this disciple looked at them, he understood something. So, Xiaohua originally wanted to release his spiritual force to take a look, but at this point, what was the point of seeing it? He simply asked meaningfully, so you agreed? This disciple is too soft-hearted. Fujiwen hurriedly knelt down. This disciple looked at those arhats' childish faces. Although this disciple knew that this was the Mahavairakana World Venerable's plan, this disciple still couldn't help. Not only senior brother Fu, Lu Yi and the others also hurriedly knelt down. This was the decision made by all of us disciples. Xiaohua didn't comment and asked again, then? Did the Immortal Palace take action? What about the Great Holy Temple and Dragon Island? Not only the Immortal Palace, Great Holy Temple and Dragon Island. Lu Yi added, the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas also sent dragon generals to escort the young dragon race and sea tribe. Fujiwen added, whether it was the Immortal Palace, Great Holy Temple, Dragon Island, or the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas, all of them sent 50,000 escorts and 500,000 young children. Fujiwen hesitated for a moment before continuing, however, the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm is currently in chaos because the Phoenix Sage is not here, and the Dragon Sage and Spider Sage have been killed. In order to snatch the demon domain, the descendants of the other great sages have attacked the Dragon Sage and Spider Sage's descendants. Xiaohua nodded and said indifferently, this matter has nothing to do with my Fortune Gate. What about the 100 schools of philosophers? From the 3rd grade families. They sent young children over. Fujiwen hurriedly explained, Fu family, Yu family, Chang family. We secretly searched for some disciples. Xiaohua looked at the group of disciples and waved his hand, indicating for them to rise. He smiled and said, rise? Since there's a chance of survival, it's understandable for them to leave some descendants for their own orthodoxies. Our Fortune Gate is a human race and we want to be magnanimous to the world. This matter will help them. However, you won't agree so easily, right? There are no conditions, right? How can there be no conditions? Fujiwen stood up and smiled, let's not talk about other conditions. The West Sea already belongs to our Dao Gate. The West Sea Dragon Palace also belongs to our Fortune Gate. Master can now appoint the West Sea Dragon King. Forget it? Xiaohua pondered for a moment and said, Jianghu will temporarily take over the West Sea Dragon Palace. Ao Zhan will assist. As for the West Sea, you can make the decision. Thank you, sect master. Jianghong's voice trembled as she knelt down and saluted. Looking at Jianghong, Xiaohua was helpless. He originally wanted the little white dragon to be the West Sea Dragon Palace's master, but the little white dragon wanted to follow him to the 10,000 demon world. The West Sea Dragon King's seat had been empty for so long, and it had caused a lot of changes. If he didn't let someone sit there, not to mention others, Jianghong would have an opinion. Moreover, in the entire Fortune Gate, only Jianghong had the qualifications. As for Ao Zhan, Xiaohua didn't want the Fortune Gate to be divided after he left. Rise. Xiaohua smiled. The West Sea is our Fortune Gate's West Sea, and the West Sea Dragon Palace is also our Fortune Gate's West Sea Dragon Palace. Jianghong, remember, no matter who sits on that seat, they are our Fortune Gate's disciple. Yes, rest assured, sect master, this disciple will remember this. Jianghong nodded in agreement. Where's Chuanzong? Xiaohua asked again. Lu Yi hurriedly replied, reporting to master, Chuanzong has already entered the East Sea. This disciple has already sent a message to the East Sea Dragon Palace. If they don't take care of him, our Fortune Gate's disciples will enter the East Sea. Therefore, the East Sea Dragon Palace has already sent patrolling yakshas to secretly protect him. Give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 4759. Good. Xiaohua heaved a sigh of relief, then a trace of compassion flashed across his eyes as he said, Today this old man called all of you to the Fortune Dao Palace to tell you that this old man has successfully cultivated a divine ability. In a few days I will tear through the world surface barrier and head to the 10,000 demon world. Do you have a choice? As Xiaohua's words fell, all the disciples' hearts sank. Although they knew that this choice would come, when it was time for them to make a choice, they felt a little unprepared. Fu Jiwen glanced at Lu Yi and Lu Yi nodded at him. Then Lu Yi stepped forward and said, Master, do you still remember that before you went into seclusion, you told your disciples to think of a way to determine the status of senior and junior brothers? Now that we have discussed it, the one who can survive until the end in this apocalypse will be the eldest senior brother. The one who dies first will be the junior brother. See, Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes couldn't help but moisten. He really didn't expect that his disciples, who had the aptitude to look down on the world, would have to use this method to determine who was the eldest senior brother. Lightly sniffing, Xiaohua suppressed the pride in his heart and said in a low voice, So, you have already made the final decision? Yes, master. Fu Jiwen nodded. We are all humans of the three mainlands and we have the obligation to defend the dignity of the human race. At the moment when the three mainlands are about to be destroyed, we can't escape, can't hide, can't be cowards. Otherwise, even if we can survive, our hearts are already dead. My soul won't belong to us anymore. Guilt and regret will be like a poisonous snake pestering us. Wang Bianfei also said, Disciples have already thought about it. Since we are the Fortune Gate's disciples, since we are the disciples of Guanyin Bodhisattva, we have no reason to retreat at this critical moment. We must fight with the other human race, demonic beast race and dragon race to the end. Clap, clap, clap. Including Xiaohua, the 10 masters all clapped their hands. After all, to make such a choice when there was still a chance of survival, it required great perseverance, great benevolence and great breadth of mind. Xiaohua was really proud of these disciples. With such breadth of mind and benevolence, how could the heavenly Tao not favor them? If these disciples couldn't shake the world, then who could? This old man agrees with your decision. Xiaohua nodded. What about those Xinhua mainland's Fortune Gate disciples? Fu Jiwen said, Master, although those disciples were born in the Xinhua continent and grew up in the Kunlun Wonderland, their roots are still the tens of thousands of disciples who were sent to the Kunlun Wonderland that day. Those tens of thousands of disciples have roots in the three continents as well. So, in the end, they're still humans of the three continents. Just like the disciples, they have to stay here. Impossible. Xiaohua shook his head slightly. This old man knows your cultivation realm, but my Fortune Gate has so many disciples, it's impossible for all of you to be so united. Yu Zhongquan took a few steps forward and said, Master, senior brother Lu Yi has left this matter to me. I have a name list here. There are indeed many disciples who are unwilling to stay behind in the three continents. They would rather return to the Xinhua continent. Please read it, Master. There's no need to look. Xiaohua glanced at Yu Zhongquan and said, This old man has already said that no matter what choice you make, this old man will respect it. After all, this is a matter of life and death, it's no small matter. Back then, when this old man didn't see the light of hope, I also struggled. I even wanted to bring you all to escape to the 10,000 demon world. Yes, this disciple understands. Yu Zhongquan breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the disciples didn't agree on how to deal with these disciples. Fellow Taoist Lei. Xiaohua said, go and send these disciples to the Kunlun Wonderland. Master, don't worry. Fu Jiwen hurriedly said, other than choosing not to return to the Xinhua continent, this disciple and the others have two suggestions. What do you think? Xiaohua said with interest. Fu Jiwen said, the first suggestion is to send our Fortune Gate's female disciples to the Xinhua continent. They are the foundation of our Fortune Gate, we must protect them well. Chang Yuan hurriedly said, Master, this female disciple does not include this disciple. It also doesn't include this disciple. Jiang Hong shouted. Good. Xiaohua nodded, then what's the second suggestion? Send the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's ordinary disciples, including Xiong Yi, Li Xiang, Zhai Xingzi and the others to the Kunlun Wonderland. Fu Jiwen said again. Senior brother Fu? Xiong Yi exclaimed in shock, how come I didn't know about this? Why didn't you discuss it with us? This is a joint decision made by us inner disciples. Lu Yi replied indifferently, you are all outer disciples and your strength is shallow. When facing the world exterminating ephemera, you won't be able to resist. Rather than being a hindrance in the West Sea, it's better to return to the Xinhua continent and continue cultivating. Although Lu Yi's words were not pleasant to the ears, Xiong Yi and the others could hear a strong sense of protection in his words. Li Xiang shouted, Senior brother Lu, you're an inner disciple, but you're also a Fortune Gate disciple. Which Fortune Gate disciple would shrink back in the face of a world-ending calamity? You are a human from the hidden immortal continent, and this disciple is also a human from the hidden immortal continent. This is the key to the survival of the human race and everyone has a responsibility. This disciple will definitely not enter the Xinhua continent. You can choose not to go, but all the other young disciples and disciples below the nascent soul realm must enter. Lu Yi said without hesitation. Hearing this, Xiong Yi was overjoyed. Of course. Xiaohua shook his head and said, Xiong Yi, Li Xiang, you don't need to say any more. Lu Yi is right, our Fortune Gate can contribute to the three mainlands, but we can't destroy our descendants because of this. Your strength is shallow, and you won't be of much use against the world exterminating ephemera. Why don't you stay in the Xinhua continent, and when Master goes to the 10,000 demon world and Dawn Rain continent, you can spread your branches and leaves there. Master. Li Xiang wanted to say more, but Xiaohua waved his hand and said, this matter is decided. Ordinary disciples don't have your leadership ability, and the entire Fortune Gate depends on you. From this point of view, the burden on your shoulders is more important than Lu Yi, Fu Jiwen, and the others. Li Xiang and Xiong Yi looked at each other, then knelt on the ground and said, Master, please rest assured, this disciple will definitely bring glory to the Fortune Gate and other world surfaces, and will not disappoint Master and senior brothers. Good, you all go and pack. 10 days later, follow this old man to the 10,000 demon world. Xiaohua didn't hesitate, and just as he was about to wave his hand, he suddenly thought of something. His gaze went past Lu Yi and looked at the silent black bear hiding at the side. Chapter 4760. In his early years, the black bear spirit was always in the limelight in front of Xiaohua. However, after returning from the upper realm and becoming famous in the Thousand Beasts sacred grounds, he gradually restrained himself. Whenever there was a meeting in the Fortune Dao Palace, he would participate in it, but he never spoke much. Today, even when they were discussing whether they should stay or leave, he did not speak much. He was not like before, clamoring to be Xiaohua's guard. Black Bear. Xiaohua called out warmly. Great Master. The black bear spirit immediately responded, and his voice sounded like he was about to cry. Are you also staying? Xiaohua asked. The black bear spirit nodded, yes. This little one is Master's guard, so naturally, I have to stay in the Fortune Dao Palace to watch over Master. You don't have to stay. Xiaohua pondered for a moment, then said to Lu Yi, order the Thousand Beasts sacred grounds and Fortune Gate's disciples to return. Try to return within 10 days. Yes, this disciple understands. Lu Yi hurriedly agreed, but then he smiled bitterly. Master, 10 days? I'm afraid we won't make it in time. And you don't have to worry about it. Xiaohua nodded and said to Feng Wu, I'll leave this matter to fellow Taoist. Understood. Feng Wu said, when this matter is over, I'll make a trip to the Thousand Beasts sacred grounds. Great Master. The black bear spirit cried, this little one didn't do anything wrong, why must master punish this little one? When did this old man say I was punishing you? Xiao Hua smiled and pointed at Xiong Yi and the others, saying, they are humans and they need to go to the Thousand Beasts world to reproduce. Without the protection of the demonic beasts, how can they succeed? You, White Lion and Golden Eagle, are my Fortune Gate's 3 beast kings, and this heavy responsibility is yours. So that's how it is. The black bear spirit suddenly understood. Who knew if he was really stupid, but he quickly kowtowed and said, this little one will not disappoint master's trust. Go, all of you, go and prepare. Xiao Hua signaled for the disciples to leave. After all the disciples had left, Xiao Hua looked at Lightning Reverend and the others with a smile on his face. He said, the 10 of us can't all leave, 1 or 2 must stay behind. Otherwise, the Fortune Gate will belong to someone else before we can break the formation. That's right. Taoist Wu nodded. We haven't found a strand of the primordial chaos ancestor's primordial spirit. Who knows where he is hiding? There must be a cultivator at the pinnacle of the 9th grade of essence energy guarding the Fortune Dao Palace. Of course it's I. The Lightning Reverend shouted, I am the 2nd master of the Fortune Gate. Now that the 1st master has passed away, it is naturally I's turn to take over the Fortune Gate. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua looked at the Lightning Sage and shook his head slightly. He said, fellow Taoist Lightning, the immortal formation is divided into 3 layers. They are the Taoist immortal formation, the Buddhist sect immortal formation, and the demon race immortal formation. You are a Tao cultivator, so you are responsible for breaking the Taoist immortal formation. Isn't fellow Taoist Xiao a Grand Ascension Stage Taoist as well? The Lightning Taoist was perplexed. You can also break through the formation. No. Xiao Hua looks at the Thunderbolt Immortal who is devoid of humanity and shakes his head. You, Buddha Maitreya, the world-honored one, Feng Wu and celestial being cannot stay. All right. Hearing Xiao Hua's resolute words, the Lightning Reverend did not understand why, so he could only nod his head dejectedly and agree. Xiao Hua looked at his clones worriedly. Taoist Yun and Demon Venerable sure could not stay. They needed to push down the 3 peaks with him. Only Taoist Wu and Wenchu could stay. However, the Dawn Rain continent was different from the other 3 continents. The Dawn Rain continent had 1,000,000 mountains. Xiao Hua could not guarantee that he could return to the Dawn Rain continent through the spatial tunnel. What if he landed on the other side of the 1,000,000 mountains? He still remembered clearly that he had an agreement with the Shaman King. Taoist Wu would follow him to the depths of the mysterious 1,000,000 mountains. He would definitely be a great help. If that was the case, then the only one who could stay was Wenchu. Seeing Xiao Hua's gaze fall on his face, Wenchu smiled and said, He, Master Shaolei, let this king take charge of the Fortune Dao Palace. All right. Then I will have to trouble the master of Wenchu Palace. As Xiao Hua spoke, he took out the Xianyuan sword and handed it to Wenchu. I don't care about the Dragon Island, Great Sage Palace and Thunder Temple. What I fear the most is the Immortal Palace. Immortal Emperor Gaoqin's desire to destroy my Dao sect seems to have not given up yet. With the Xianyuan sword you can fend off his Son of Heaven sword. Ah. Wenchu waved his hand and said, Fellow Immortal, you are wrong. If I leave the Xianyuan sword here, it will only attract the attention of Gaoqin. It is better to leave it with you. It will serve as a deterrent. Xiao Hua thought for a moment, then put away the Xianyuan sword and nodded. Fellow Immortal is right. It is more suitable for I to take it. At this point, the Maitreya Buddha of the world suddenly stood up and said, Bodhisattva, I will leave for a moment. Since I am leaving, I need to settle down the exquisite temple. Also, regarding the news of the Dragon Sage, I need to inform the Mahavairakana Buddha of the world. Buddha of the world, please. Xiao Hua nodded. The Maitreya Buddha of the world reached out and pulled at the void. As if opening a door, he disappeared in a flash. Seeing this, the Phoenix Wu also flapped her wings and tore the void apart. She smiled and said, Forget it, forget it. This saint will also make a trip to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Thank you for your trouble, Phoenix Sage. Xiao Hua smiled as he watched the Phoenix Wu leave. He then looked at Princess Qingqing and said, Qingqing, are you leaving with fellow Taoist Lei? Princess Qingqing stood below the Fortune Dao Palace's high platform. She did not dare to breathe loudly because she already understood everything. What great sage of the Great Sage Temple? What scholar palace master of the Immortal Palace? What Buddhist sect's Maitreya Buddha of the world? They were all sect masters of the Fortune Gate. The Fortune Gate was not only a Dao sect that could rival the Immortal Palace, Thunder Sound Temple and Great Sage Temple, but it was also the #1 Dao sect in the world. This was definitely the world's greatest secret. Princess Qingqing also understood that now that she knew this secret, how could Xiaohua let her go? She did not have any time to think and hurriedly replied, "Yes, that is right. No matter where Lei goes, I will follow." "Good." Xiaohua nodded and said, "Since that is the case, you and Yu Xiaoxia should pack up and follow Princess Zixia." However, right when he spoke up to hear, Princess Zixia spoke abruptly, "Darling Xiao, I won't be going. I will accompany the Scholar Palace Master to guard the Fortune Dao Palace." "Huh?" Xiaohua was shocked. He looked at Princess Zixia in disbelief and asked curiously, "You? What the hell are you doing? How can you not go? Your cultivation is shallow and can't help if you stay here." Speaking of this, Xiaohua's heart suddenly softened. He seemed to understand Princess Zixia's thoughts. Chapter 4761. Sure enough, Princess Zixia bowed and said, "Sect Master, you've seen it for yourself. Your disciples, Lu Yi, Fujiwen, and the others, have all chosen to stay in the 3 continents and fight the world-destroying ephemera to the death. Everyone will be timid in front of death, and I am no exception. If you had not found the way to break the array, I believe that they would not have stayed so resolutely. At this moment, the reason they stayed behind was because they trusted you. They believed that you would definitely be able to break through the Grand Formation and save the 3 continents from the apocalypse. What made them stay was their trust in you. But you left, and so did the 8 elders. Although the Master of the Palace of Literature is here, it is obviously not enough. So, Xiao, I have to stay. I will stay here and let them know that you will definitely come back. With me here, only you can stay with them." Zixia. Xiaohua bit his lips and only said 2 words after a long while. He did not know how to express his feelings. "Furthermore, Elder Sect Master." Zixia smiled again. Although the Master of the Palace of Literature is at the peak of the 9th level of origin power, and no one in this world is his match, when it comes to strategizing he is still lacking. Although my cultivation level is not high, I can be a very good advisor. Xiaohua lowered his head and muttered to himself for a moment. He then discussed with Wenchu in his mind and nodded. "Zixia, you are right. With you here, it is a huge reassurance pill. It's more useful than 10 sect masters." Xiaohua waved his hand and took out the few pills in his space. He handed them to Wenchu and said, "Fellow immortal, these pills can kill the king of monster insects." "Okay." Wenchu nodded and took the pills. But at this moment, Princess Qingqing suddenly shouted, "Sect Master, I also want to stay." Xiaohua's expression changed slightly. He said coldly, "Why are you staying?" "Shut up, why are you staying?" The Thunder Venerable was also furious. Princess Qingqing did not pay attention to them. She looked at Princess Zixia and said, "Xinxin, you and I have been fighting for a lifetime. At this time, I am tired and do not want to fight with you anymore. I just want to ask you, among the 9 princesses of the Immortal Palace, who is the leader of the conspiracy?" Princess Zixia frowned slightly. She looked at Princess Qingqing, then at Xiaohua and said proudly, "If we're talking about an overt plot, then it's naturally this princess. But who is the number 1 schemer?" Princess Qingqing asked. "Isn't that obvious? Of course, the 5th princess is the winner." When Princess Zixia said that, there was no mockery in her voice. She already understood what Princess Qingqing wanted to say. "That's right. I can't compare to you in terms of overt schemes." Princess Qingqing smiled. "But in terms of schemes, you're no match for me. If that immortal emperor wants to make a move against the Fortune Gate, will he use an overt scheme or a hidden one?" Princess Zixia smiled and said, "Of course it's an overt scheme and a conspiracy, and there are even more conspiracies." "That's right." Princess Qingqing chuckled. "In this Fortune Gate, I'm afraid no one is more confident than me in seeing through His Majesty's schemes. So, if I don't stay behind, who will?" Princess Qingqing then turned to the Thunderbolt Master and said, "Thunderbolt, it's not that I don't want to go with you. In fact, in my eyes, whether the 3 mainlands are destroyed or not has nothing to do with me. As long as I follow you, even if the world is destroyed, I'm willing. However, the Fortune Gate is yours. Even the Sect Master has left his lover behind as a reassuring pill. As the Sect Master, you can't ignore it. How about this concubine stay behind to guard this place on your behalf?" The Thunderbolt Master looked at Princess Qingqing for a long time without saying anything. Even if Xiaohua called out to him in his heart, he ignored him. In the end, when Princess Qingqing was feeling a little apprehensive, the Thunderbolt Master said, "Qingqing, as long as you're sincere and have no ulterior motives, then, when I return from breaking the formation, I'll definitely marry you." Boom. As if the same lightning bolt had struck Princess Qingqing, she couldn't move for half a cup of tea's time. "You." Princess Qingqing said in disbelief. "Thunderbolt, is what you said true?" "Of course it's true." The Thunderbolt Master said word by word. Xiaohua looked at Wen Chu, then at Daoist Sorcerer. Everyone else also looked at each other in dismay. This Thunderbolt Master, who was immature, could actually say such serious words. This was really out of their expectations. Oh. Hearing the Thunderbolt Master's affirmation, Princess Qingqing couldn't help crying. She covered her mouth with her hand, trying her best not to lose her composure. However, the hot tears still flowed down her beautiful cheeks. "Zixia." Xiaohua couldn't make up his mind. He looked at Princess Zixia and asked through voice transmission, "What do you think?" Princess Zixia bit her lips. Looking at the tears flowing down Princess Qingqing's face, Princess Zixia saw a rare weakness in Princess Qingqing's eyes. Princess Zixia wasn't a petty person. She pondered for a moment and said through voice transmission, "All right. This is the final test. I hope she can pass the test." "All right." Xiaohua also made up his mind. He nodded and said, "Princess Qingqing, since you're willing to stay on behalf of the Thunderbolt Master, then you can stay. However, I'll say this first. You don't have the right to make decisions in any matter, only the right to make suggestions. If the Literature Palace's master discovers anything unusual about you, don't blame him for being ruthless." If it were any other time, Princess Qingqing would have already turned hostile. At the very least, she would have given Xiaohua a cold face. However, with the Thunderbolt Master's promise, Princess Qingqing felt a little resentful in her heart. However, she didn't show it on her face. Instead, she nodded and said, "I understand. Sai, it's been hard on you all." Xiaohua sighed. With a wave of his sleeve, he brought Princess Zixia out of the Fortune Dao Palace. In the blink of an eye, they were already in the sky above the West Sea. "Xiaohua, you." Princess Zixia's face was slightly hot as if she knew what was going to happen. Xiaohua waved his hand and released the Pegasus flying chariot. He pulled Princess Zixia into the flying chariot and said with a smile, "I'll be gone for many years. I don't know when I'll be able to return, and I don't even know if I'll be able to return. Today I'll drink with you." With that, Xiaohua took out a few cosmos bags and handed them to Princess Zixia. He said, "I don't know what you need. Take these, I hope they'll be useful to you." "All right." Princess Zixia took them and put them away without even looking at them. Then she said, "Xiaohua, where's the wine brewed from the peaches of immortality? Don't be stingy, this concubine has been craving for it for a long time. Give it as a reward and thank you for all your support." Chapter 4762. Of course. Xiaohua's eyes were moist. He took out the jade pot and took out some peaches and spiritual fruits that Zixia had never seen before. Princess Zixia raised her wine cup and accompanied Xiaohua to drink a few cups. Afterwards, her eyes were moist as she stared at Xiaohua and said, "Xiaohua, when this concubine asked you about the matters of Xiaoyu continent earlier, you used the excuse of teaching this concubine the 5 energies unification technique to evade the question. Now you're leaving and I don't know when you'll come back. Don't tell me. You want to hide it from me forever?" Hearing Princess Zixia's words, Xiaohua felt dizzy. "Don't tell me that every woman in this world has discerning eyes?" "All right." Xiaohua nodded. "I didn't know if I could return to the Dawn Rain continent, so I wanted to bury the past in my memory. Now that I have the chance to go back, I can't hide it from you anymore. TSK. Hearing Xiaohua speak so seriously, Zixia couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. "Don't tell me. You also had romantic affairs in the Dawn Rain continent?" Xiaohua nodded awkwardly. "Not just one." "Really?" Princess Zixia was surprised. She also stopped smiling and asked in a serious tone, "A man like you who seems to be devoted to only one woman, actually has many close female friends? Alas, men really can't be trusted." Facing Princess Zixia's disappointment, Xiaohua could only brace himself and tell her everything about Fairy Hongxia and Shui Shui. Although Princess Zixia was a Confucian cultivator, she had been influenced by the 3 cardinal principles and 5 elements of Confucian cultivation since young. Moreover, she was born in the Immortal Palace, so it was normal for her to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. However, knowing was knowing and accepting was accepting. As the 9th princess of the Immortal Emperor, she couldn't help but feel repulsed by sharing her husband with others. The reason why she chose Xiaohua back then was, on one hand, because of Xiaohua's deep affection, and on the other hand because of Xiaohua's purity. She even felt proud of it. Previously, when Princess Zixia asked Xiaohua to tell her about his experience in the Dawn Rain continent, she was interrupted by Xiaohua. As astute as she was, she already had an idea and made some preparations. But when she heard Xiaohua admit it with her own ears, she naturally felt wronged. However, when she heard the story of how Xiaohua and Fairy Hongxia met and fell in love, that grudge gradually disappeared. After all, at that time she did not know Xiaohua at all. Fairy Hongxia, as a high and mighty sect disciple, actually chose Xiaohua. That kind of love was not something she could compare to. Of course, Xiaohua didn't dare to conceal the matter of Fairy Hongxia's cultivation going berserk. What could Princess Zixia say now? Saving people was the most important thing. Naturally, there was no need to consider anything else. When Xiaohua brought up the matter of Shui, a wry smile appeared on Princess Zixia's face. She already knew Xiaohua very well, and she knew that even though he was already the most powerful being on the 3 continents, his indecisive nature hadn't changed at all. From this, she could also imagine that day in the Imperial Thunder sect, Shui took the initiative to pursue Xiaohua, and Xiaohua was submissive and ambiguous with her. Princess Zixia couldn't help but clench her teeth and pinch Xiaohua's arm, secretly blaming him for being unfaithful. When she heard that Fairy Hongxia was angry because of Xiaohua's ambiguous behavior and made a choice, Princess Zixia heaved a sigh of relief and glared at Xiaohua, saying, "Serves you right. That's how it should be. I'll let you men know that there's no good end to being a womanizer outside." However, when she saw that Xiaohua didn't say anything and continued to speak with a calm face, Princess Zixia's heart thumped. She already had a bad premonition. Sure enough, when she heard that Shui had no choice but to sacrifice herself to save Xiaohua, she couldn't help but clench her fists. Princess Zixia couldn't help but clench her fists. She sighed and said, "Darling Xiao, you've let Sister Shui down." "Ah yes." Xiaohua didn't withdraw his gaze and continued to look into the distance, replying, "I did let her down. At that time I really didn't know what love was. Moreover, after that, my feelings for Fairy Hongxia had somewhat died. When I compared her to Shui, I always felt that she was too shallow and too self-righteous." No. Princess Zixia quickly waved her hand and said, "You can't say that about Fairy Hongxia. She wasn't wrong. Who could tolerate their lover having emotional entanglements with other women? Moreover, it wasn't easy for her. At that time, your strength wasn't strong and your reputation wasn't widespread. The pressure she was under was something you don't know. If you say she was wrong, then you're wrong." "Yes." Xiaohua hurriedly nodded. "So after arriving at the 3 continents, I tried my best not to provoke female cultivators. Even you, at the beginning, only in the illusion of the profound water palace. Had a simple beginning. Later. To be honest, I also didn't know if I could return to the Dawn Rain continent. You were also very good to me and sacrificed a lot for me, so." Princess Zixia looked at Xiaohua and said, "This matter is also my fault. Because of that half a heaven's will, I was punished by His Majesty. I only felt that with your cultivation, I didn't know how many years it would take before you could rescue me. Moreover, I only felt that you had a good impression of me and didn't know if you could do more for me. So before I was suppressed, I begged His Majesty to give me some time to myself. It was out of my expectations that His Majesty actually agreed." "That's true." Hearing that Princess Zixia's tone was gentle and didn't have any intention of blaming him, Xiaohua hurriedly echoed, "Yes, His Majesty was indeed somewhat duplicitous. He was extremely strict with you, but in reality when he punished you he didn't really imprison you in the Heaven's Punishment Prison Crystal. Instead he placed you in Liao River to be suppressed. Although it was to guard against the 4 great clans, it was beneficial for your cultivation and healing. This was also the real reason why I tolerated him later on." Yes, if His Majesty didn't agree, Qing. How could she have escaped from the Immortal Palace? Princess Zixia's train of thought had obviously been led astray by Xiaohua, so she casually said. However, after a moment, Princess Zixia came to her senses and looked at Xiaohua faintly. "Great spiritual master Xiao, now that you're a Taoist Mahayana realm cultivator and the #1 person in the 3 continents, you'll probably be one of the best in the Dawn Rain continent. Have already achieved the goal that Fairy Hongxia requested. When she sees you, she'll definitely be wild with joy and wholeheartedly stay by your side." "Look at what you're saying," Xiaohua said with a bitter smile. "I've already been honest with you, how can I not be honest with her? Moreover, as time passes, my heart has changed, maybe." "Shut up." Hearing this, Princess Zixia's expression changed greatly and she said angrily, "Xiaohua, if you judge Fairy Hongxia like this, then you don't need to see her anymore. give it a reward and thank you for all your support. Chapter 4763. Ever since Princess Wuxia met Xiaohua, she had never turned hostile like this, regardless of whether Xiaohua was a little monk or a Taoist Mahayana realm cultivator. Her attitude made Xiaohua stunned. He asked curiously, What's wrong? Xiaohua. Princess Wuxia's sullen expression didn't disappear, but she still suppressed the slight anger in her heart and said in a low voice, You don't understand women at all. Fairy Hongxia was able to choose you before you had even shown your talent. Moreover, she had intimate contact with you, so how could she choose someone else? Not to mention that you left for hundreds of years, even if you ascended, she would still only have you in her heart. You used your thoughts to misunderstand her, you really let down her deep feelings for you. But, Xiaohua said rather innocently, that day didn't she say that she wanted everyone to be quiet? Yes, she wanted to be quiet, but did you give her an answer? Did she give you an answer? Princess Wuxia said somewhat resentfully, after you left her, you were expelled by the Imperial Thunder Sect, and then there was no news of you. In her heart, there was only concern and worry, so how could she still think about the previous agreement? You can go and find her without worry. If I guess wrong, you can just turn around and ignore her. Xiaohua was somewhat ashamed and said in a low voice, Actually, I am somewhat afraid of seeing her. Princess Wuxia looked at Xiaohua from head to toe and said, Xiaohua, so you brought me to the Dawn Rain continent with the intention of letting me meet her alone? How could that be? Xiaohua touched his nose and said with a bitter smile, No matter how afraid I am, I can't let you meet her alone. Princess Wuxia looked at Xiaohua's familiar action and didn't say anything. She also raised her head and looked at the clouds rising and falling in the distance. The setting sun dyed the nearby horizon red. Her somewhat trembling delicate body slowly leaned on Xiaohua's shoulder, and she didn't say anything for a long time. Xiaohua didn't know what Princess Wuxia was thinking, so he didn't dare to be too presumptuous. He only gently wrapped his arm around Princess Wuxia's waist. His mouth and nose were filled with the fragrance of Princess Wuxia's hair, and his gaze slowly followed the setting sun. Seeing the half-broken crescent moon, Princess Wuxia opened her mouth and said, Xiaohua. Yes, Xiaohua replied. I'm actually quite disappointed. Princess Wuxia said indifferently. Because you're not as tall as I thought. Yes. What else could Xiaohua say? He could only lower his head and agree. However, even though I am disappointed, I don't have too many complaints, Princess Wuxia said. After all, men are different from women. The pursuit was a kind of conquest, a kind of stimulation, or a kind of possession. As for us women, we hope to have a kind of reliance, a kind of comfort, a kind of safety that we can entrust our lives to. Do you remember little white dragon's wives and concubines? They came when you were in seclusion. What we saw earlier was just the tip of the iceberg. Little white dragon has dozens of wives and children. Why are there so many? Xiaohua was a bit flabbergasted. Dragon clan. In the 3 continents, dragons are the most masculine and masculine races. Many female demons have a special liking for dragons. Princess Wuxia explained, moreover, the demon clan only talks about sexual intercourse and reproduction, unlike the human clan where sexual intercourse is more common. You can't look at the demon race with the eyes of a human. Then it's no wonder. Xiaohua agreed. However, we are humans. Naturally, we have to use human ethics to demand ourselves. We can't act recklessly like the demon clan. How would I dare? Xiaohua muttered, not daring to speak loudly. The corners of Princess Wuxia's mouth curled into a faint smile. She held Xiaohua's hand and said, Xiaohua, actually, you have already done well enough. I'm not too clear about the situation in the Tao sect. However, among us Confucian cultivators, having 3 wives and 4 concubines is considered normal. Moreover, if a man doesn't have wives and concubines, he'll be laughed at. Of course, if you have too many thoughts, I can't force you to do anything. After all, you're now the strongest person in the 3 continents. Besides the laws of heaven and earth, I'm afraid no one can restrict you. However, what I want to tell you is that when you have other thoughts, can you think about my feelings, think about Fairy Hongxia's feelings, and also think about Sister Shue's feelings? If you feel that you can give us an explanation, then I won't stop you. If you feel that we can't accept it, then please take back your thoughts. It has to be said that Wuxia, as the princess of the Immortal Palace, was far smarter than Shue and Fairy Hongxia. She was not like Shue who blindly followed Xiaohua, nor was she like Fairy Hongxia who casually berated Xiaohua and made him follow her own ideas. She only told Xiaohua her feelings and let him ask himself. Moreover, she made it clear that as long as Xiaohua felt that he didn't let her down, then Xiaohua could develop other relationships. The more she said this, the more Xiaohua wouldn't do anything against her. Zixia, I swear. Xiaohua said matter-of-factly. Unfortunately, before Xiaohua could finish speaking, Princess Zixia covered his mouth with her hand and shook her head. Xiaohua, no one can be sure about the future. When you fell in love with Fairy Hongxia at first sight, did you think that you were far away from the Dawn Rain continent and couldn't return? Did you think that you would meet me? Even a few decades ago, did you think that you would be able to return to the Dawn Rain continent? There are too many uncertainties in the future. Moreover, don't forget that regardless of whether or not the 3 continents can survive the calamity, you will soon ascend. I don't know what the immortal realm is like, but I do know that you're going to. The immortal realm. I can't ascend to the immortal realm for the time being. Even if I did, I'd have to go to the heavenly court. You and I don't have the same path. Moreover, Xiaohua, I have a premonition that this journey will be eternal. I'm afraid that our fate will end here. We won't have the chance to meet again. Saying this, Princess Zixia turned her head and kissed Xiaohua's lips. A kind of sweetness immediately drowned Xiaohua. Happiness was like the profound water palace from a long time ago. The night was without a trace, the stars and the moon were boundless, and the West Sea was silent tonight. When the sun rose from the east, Xiaohua had a strange feeling in his heart. He said in a low voice, Zixia, you also saw the future? No. Princess Zixia's head leaned on Xiaohua's chest for the whole night. She felt that happiness was too little, so she casually replied. Then how do you know that we won't have the chance to meet again? Xiaohua asked cautiously. Is it? Princess Zixia rolled her eyes at him and said, when you return from the Dawn Rain continent, you will naturally have Fairy Hongxia by your side. Your heart still belongs to me alone now? At that time you won't be who you are now. Chapter 4764. Phew. Xiaohua let out a long sigh of relief. It seems like once bitten, twice shy. Moreover, how could crossing realms be easy? There are many difficulties. Who knows when you'll reach the Dawn Rain mainland? Who knows if you'll be able to break the immortal array? What if you find out that the 3 continents have already been destroyed after breaking the immortal array? Princess Zixia continued, or, when you're on the way back to the Dawn Rain mainland, the heavenly tribulation suddenly descends. At that time, you already have no choice. Yes, the time left for me in the 3 continents is already running out. Xiaohua recalled the words of the Vairocana world venerable. Presumably, this was what he saw when he used his great divine ability in the Thunder Temple. 100 years. Now only 90 years. Princess Zixia raised her head. The blush on her beautiful face had yet to fade, and tears were added to it. Xiaohua, I've waited for you for 90 years. If you don't return, I'll be killed by the world-exterminating mayfly. Xiaohua, you must remember, you must return. Xiaohua's heart ached and he whispered, Zixia, why do you have to? Xiaohua, you'll slowly understand in the future. Princess Zixia looked at Xiaohua lovingly and said, as a leader it seems glorious, but you've also lost a lot. There are many things that can't be done recklessly, and there are many sacrifices to be made. Fujiwen and the others know that the Fortune Gate has a way to survive, but if the Fortune Gate leaves, the Fortune Gate, Xiaohua and Taoist Master Xiao will go down in history and infamy. Even if Xiaohua can break the immortal array and return, this kind of loss of reputation is impossible to make up for. Once people start to doubt, the power of faith will fade. Fujiwen and the others can sacrifice for the Fortune Gate. For you, why can't I? Fujiwen and the others have confidence in you, why can't I? Since we all believe that you can return, why can't we wait here? Zixia. Xiaohua held Princess Zixia's hand and said, you've done too much for me. I'm afraid I won't be able to return it to you in this lifetime. It's precisely because you can't return it that you'll think of me in your heart. Princess Zixia mischievously pinches Xiaohua's earlobe and says, wait until you reach the immortal world and become a heavenly sovereign, immortal king, then my name will be engraved in your heart. Zixia. Xiaohua hugged Princess Zixia in his arms, as if he really wanted to carve her into his heart. Xiaohua. Princess Zixia also hugged Xiaohua and whispered, remember me, don't forget me. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. By the time Xiaohua and Princess Zixia landed on the first Dawn Reef, the Fortune Gate's disciples had already gathered. The greeting of greetings to the sect master was like a tsunami. Before Xiaohua could raise his hand to speak, another greeting of greetings to Princess Zixia was heard. This greeting was even louder than before. Obviously, the group of Fortune Gate's disciples already knew of Princess Wuxia's decision and had accepted this immortal emperor's princess from the bottom of their hearts. Princess Wuxia smiled and nodded. She didn't try to steal the attention of the host. Instead, she looked at Xiaohua. Xiaohua looked around as if he wanted to memorize every Fortune Gate disciple's appearance in his mind. A moment later, he spoke again. "Disciples, this old man will not betray your trust. We believe in the sect master." The group of disciples shouted in unison, their momentum soaring like a rainbow. Xiaohua looked at these disciples for a long time. He wanted to say something but his throat seemed to be blocked, unable to say a word. After a long while, Xiaohua bowed and said, "This old man thanks all of you for sacrificing for the Fortune Gate. Master." The group of disciples was shocked and hurriedly knelt and kowtowed. But Xiaohua waved his hand and stopped all the disciples, saying, "You don't need to return the greeting. All of you are qualified to receive this old man's bow. Your actions will definitely be recorded in the history of the three mainlands, and leave behind our Fortune Gate's legend in the 4 continents. Yes, we will not betray Master's trust." The group of disciples didn't dare to disobey. All of them straightened their backs and answered. Their voices soared high into the sky, shattering the clouds in the 9 heavens. Their voices fell into the western sea, causing waves to rise. Perhaps the brush of history couldn't record the names of millions of Fortune Gate disciples, but their names were engraved in the 4 continents. Fellow Taoist Lightning. Xiaohua waved his hand and threw the Kunlun mirror to the lightning Taoist who was holding Princess Qingqing's hand, saying, "I'll have to trouble you to take away all the disciples who should leave. They want to create a new situation for our Fortune Gate in the 10,000 demon world. They are also our Fortune Gate's heroes. Also, take away the descendants of the Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sect, demonic beast race and dragon race." Yes. The lightning Taoist took the Kunlun mirror and flew to the side with Princess Qingqing. Black bear, white lion, golden eagle and other demonic beast race disciples, Xiong Yi, Li Xiang and other human race disciples, and even some dragon race and sea race disciples were already waiting. As for the descendants of the other 3 mainlands, they were also waiting at various places in the Yuanxi Reef. Little White. Xiaohua glanced at the little white dragon beside the black bear. The little white dragon hurriedly flew over and answered, "Big brother." Xiaohua frowned and asked, "7-colored sea god shell?" "Old ancestor she." The little white dragon looked around and whispered, "She doesn't want to enter the Kunlun paradise, she wants to follow behind Big Brother." Xiaohua sneered and glanced at the sea in the distance, saying, "She still hasn't given up and wants to negotiate with this old man. I'm afraid. She wants to take more descendants of the sea race to the 10,000 demon world. Forget it, if she doesn't want to go, this old man won't force her. Wait a moment, I'll let the lightning Taoist take her into the Kunlun paradise." "But Big Brother," the little white dragon said with difficulty, "if this little brother's memory can't be unlocked, this little brother can't help Big Brother." Xiaohua sneered and said through voice transmission, "When Big Brother saw the 7-colored sea god shell that day, he wanted her help to find a passage to another world, but she didn't want to help at all. That day Big Brother didn't care and casually promised her that if there was a chance to go to the 10,000 demon world, he would take her with him. That day behind this promise, it was Minghua, not her. However, she didn't value this promise. Although she treated you well and saw you as her descendant, she still used you as a bargaining chip and wanted to bargain with Big Brother. This kind of scheming is what Big Brother hates the most. Moreover, Big Brother later used your mouth to invite her again. He also had the idea of asking her to protect the Fortune Gate's disciples in the 10,000 demon world. But today it seems that she is too calculative and even a little vengeful. Big Brother is afraid that when we go to the 10,000 demon world, she will make a move on the Fortune Gate's disciples as soon as Big Brother leaves. Rather than that, it is better to let her stay in the 3 mainlands." Chapter 4765. All right. The little white dragon seemed to have some understanding of the 7-colored sea god shell's personality. Hearing Xiaohua's words, he nodded without any hesitation. "Then this little brother will listen to Big Brother. When we reach the 10,000 demon world, even if this little brother's memory is not very clear, I will definitely help Big Brother find the spatial passage. Since you know the name of the spatial passage, we can ask around when we reach the 10,000 demon world." Xiaohua smiled. "You don't have to worry too much." "Yes, Big Brother." The little white dragon nodded with a smile and then flew down. At this time, Feng Wu and Buddha Maitreya had returned and were sitting in the Fortune Palace. The news of the Fortune Gate sect master and 10 elders gathering was not spread. Other than Lu Yi and the other disciples, The other disciples did not know about the Fortune Gate sect master. Xiao Hua's figure landed in the Fortune Palace, and a group of avatars flew up from the Fortune Throne. He smiled and said, "Should we leave?" "Yes." Xiao Hua smiled. "When fellow Taoist lightning returns, we will set off." Not long after, the lightning Taoist held the Kunlun mirror and flew back to the Fortune Palace accompanied by Princess Qingqing. Xiao Hua took the Kunlun mirror and activated the light pillar. He looked around and said, "Fellow Taoists, please return to the Kunlun paradise." "Thank you, fellow Taoist." Feng Wu and the others nodded and flew into the Kunlun mirror. In a moment, only Wen Chu, lightning Taoist, Xiao Hua, Princess Qingqing and Princess Xixia were left in the Fortune Palace. "Qingqing, take care." The lightning Taoist looked at Princess Qingqing and said, "I will be back soon. You must listen to the Wisdom Palace Master and Princess Xixia." "TSK." Princess Qingqing's eyes turned red and she rebuked, "You speak as if I am a child. Come back early." "Okay." The lightning Taoist did not show any affection and his figure flashed into the light pillar of the Kunlun mirror. Xiao Hua put away the Kunlun mirror and said to Wen Chu, Princess Xixia and Qingqing, "From now on, the Fortune Gate is in your hands. Fellow Taoist, rest assured." Wen Chu smiled. "With this king here, it is as if you are here. Darling Xiao, be careful. Go quickly and come back quickly." Princess Xixia lightly bit her lips and gave a simple instruction. Princess Qingqing said indifferently, "Don't worry, sect master. I'm still waiting for Lei Ting to marry me. Who would dare to act rashly?" Then please sit on the thrones of creation." Xiao Hua raised his hand and shook it. A bolt of lightning descended, and the 10 thrones of creation rapidly shrank into 3. "No." Princess Xixia shook her head and said, "I am not qualified to sit on the throne of creation. Xiaolang, please take back your order." "Don't worry." Princess Qingqing yelled in a sarcastic tone, "I've already promised Lei Ting that I won't interfere in the Fortune Gate's internal affairs unless the Scholar Palace Master wants me to. Go ahead and take a seat." Princess Xixia didn't answer. Instead, she looked at Xiao Hua and shook her head. "All right." Xiao Hua looked at Wen Chu and said, "Then I'll have to trouble fellow immortal to sit high above." "Ah, no problem." Wen Chu laughed and sat on the throne. The thrones of creation flickered and turned into one. Boom. As Wen Chu pointed his finger, the Fortune Dao Palace above disappeared, revealing the West Sea's high sky and white clouds. Then Wen Chu, Xiao Hua, Princess Qingqing, and Princess Xixia landed above the Origin Dusk Reef. "Disciples." Xiao Hua looked at the black mass of heads and fervent gazes on the ground. He raised his hand and said, "This old man will be leaving. I'll leave the West Sea and Fortune Gate to you. Farewell, Elder Sect Master." The disciples bowed and said, "We wish Elder Sect Master success." "Ah, good." Xiao Hua laughed loudly. His figure flickered and he soared into the sky. "I'll take your blessings. This old man will be back soon." Xiao Hua turned into a thunderbolt and soared into the sky. With a wave of his hands, a crack appeared in the void. Xiao Hua's tall and thin figure turned back to look. His gaze not only fell on Princess Xixia, but also fell on Lu Yi and the other disciples. His gaze even fell on the boundless waves of the West Sea. Then, with a flicker, he disappeared into the void. Zhenren Xiao. Just as Xiao Hua entered the void, several faint ripples appeared in the sky, and a black and white halo gushed out like a fountain. The figure of the 7-colored sea god Shell flew out of the light and shadow, and hurriedly shouted, "Zhenren Xiao, please wait." Xiao Hua's figure that had already disappeared reappeared. He looked at the 7-colored sea god Seashell indifferently and asked, "What else do you want?" The 7-colored sea god Seashell was a little embarrassed. She didn't expect Xiao Hua to ignore her hint and leave as soon as the 10 days were up. At this time she opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. "If you don't have anything, don't waste my time." Xiao Hua's body surged with strange fluctuations again. He said impatiently, "I'm in a hurry to go to the 10,000 demon realm." Taoist Xiao. The 7-colored sea god Seashell hurriedly said, "I can't go to the 10,000 demon realm with you?" "No." Xiao Hua replied. Taoist Xiao. The 7-colored sea god Seashell smiled bitterly, "It's not that I want to hide the fact that little white dragon seal is not completely broken. It's just that those seals were specially sealed by Minghua. I'm not completely sure." "No need to say more." Xiao Hua interrupted the 7-colored sea god Seashell and laughed, "It's not important. I don't have much time now." "I can try now." The 7-colored sea god Seashell hurriedly gave in, Maybe I can break Little White's final seal. I only need to delay Daoist Xiao for 3 days. It would be a lie to say that Xiao Hua wasn't worried about Little White Dragon's seal. Seeing that the 7-colored sea god seashell agreed to help Little White Dragon break the seal, Xiao Hua couldn't help but hesitate. I'm not asking to go to the 10,000 demon realm with you. The 7-colored sea god seashell took advantage of the situation and said, I only ask that Daoist Xiao can bring Bei Ming's original body back to the 10,000 demon realm. Because Bei Ming's original body hasn't shown any signs of awakening or growth for so many years, he must have left a clone in the 10,000 demon realm. Only by merging the original body with the clone can Bei Ming wake up. Xiao Hua hesitated. He could ignore the 7-colored sea god seashell, but he couldn't ignore Ming Hua. After all, Ming Hua was the founder of Shanghuaming sect, and Bei Ming might be the person Xianwan was looking for. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua nodded and said, Okay, I'll give you 3 more days. Thank you, Daoist Xiao. The 7-colored sea god seashell was overjoyed and said, Please come with me. With that, the 7-colored sea god seashell turned into a black and white rainbow bridge and rushed to a place in the West Sea. Xiao Hua looked back at Wen Chu, who was sitting high on the throne of creation, and Princess Qingqing and Princess Zixia on both sides of the throne. He smiled and waved his hand and also turned into a rainbow and left. Chapter 4766. 3 days later in the West Ocean, Xiao Hua soared into the sky again. Behind him, the 7-colored seashell turned into a human form and waved goodbye with a helpless face. The 7-colored seashell's plan was very good. She also knew that Xiao Hua was soft-hearted. As long as she said more gentle words, Xiao Hua might agree to her conditions and take her to the 10,000 demon realm. Xiao Hua naturally fell into the 7-colored seashell's plan and easily agreed to the 7-colored seashell's conditions. However, when the 7-colored seashell completely broke the seal on the Little White Dragon, it meant that the seal was gone and the memory would slowly recover. Only then did Xiao Hua begin to fulfill his promise. However, when Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun mirror and first collected the offspring of the 7-colored seashell, he suddenly found that no matter how Xiao Hua activated the Kunlun mirror, he could not take her into the space. The 7-colored seashell was angry at first, thinking that Xiao Hua was going back on his words. However, after Xiao Hua thought carefully and told her his guess, she understood. Back in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, the Rainbow Sea God Seashell had used her innate ability, the Great Rainbow Halo Shell World, to trap Xiao Hua. Inside the Great Rainbow Halo Shell World, Xiao Hua couldn't be sensed by the Kunlun Immortal Realm, let alone the Kunlun Immortal Realm. Today, the Rainbow Sea God Seashell with the Great Rainbow Halo Shell World naturally couldn't sense Xiao Hua. After knowing the reason, the 7-colored seashell was speechless. Unless she gave up her special ability, she could not enter the Kunlun Wonderland at all. However, in a remote area, the Rainbow Sea God Shell had been stripped of its sea god bloodline by the divine punishment. Her Great Rainbow Halo Shell World could no longer be used. Her innate god art was no longer an innate god art. The 7-colored sea god shell couldn't leave the 3 continents and go to the 10,000 demon realm for this innate ability that couldn't be used at all. It must be said that the heavens played a big joke on the 7-colored sea god shell. The 7-colored seashell had no choice but to entrust the offspring that had been taken into the space to Xiao Hua, and then give the infant Bei Ming to Xiao Hua before sending Xiao Hua out of the West Ocean. Senior, don't worry. Xiao Hua stopped in the air and smiled. As soon as I reach the 10,000 demon realm, I will find the place where Bei Ming used to live according to the Little White Dragon's memory and send him to find his clone. Moreover, I will find a suitable place for your offspring, and the offspring of the Little White Dragon to survive in the 10,000 demon realm. The 7-colored sea god shell thought for a moment and said, The Little White Dragon's seal has been broken, but I'm not sure when it will recover. Moreover, no one knows the current situation of Bei Ming's clone. You must ensure Bei Ming's safety first. Senior, I don't have much time. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, Junior will do his best to follow Senior's instructions, but if there isn't enough time, Junior can only guarantee to bring back Bei Ming's infant body in one piece. Xiao Hua's the seashell. Xiao Hua's seashell. Farewell. Xiao Hua cupped his hands and turned into a rainbow as he flew towards the West Ocean Dragon Palace. However, a faint smile appeared on Xiao Hua's face after the 7-colored sea god shellfish flew far away. If it weren't for the fact that he was worried that the 7-colored sea god shellfish would harm the fortune gate on the Yuanxi Reef Plain, Xiao Hua would have ignored the 7-colored sea god shellfish that had appeared at the last moment. But even if Xiao Hua agreed, How could he let the 7-colored seashell stay in the 10,000 demon realm with Li Xiang and the other Fortune Gate disciples? Xiao Hua flew for a while, and his body began to flicker with lightning and inexplicable fluctuations. Then 2 golden hands filled with lightning pulled at the void, and a void passage appeared. Xiao Hua flashed into it, and when he came out he was already in the 1,000 demons sacred realm, the demon realm filled with devil chi. The mysterious origin space escape technique is really amazing. Xiao Hua looked around and said in admiration. Moreover, the space escape technique's understanding of space law is unique, which is not available in the 3 continents Dao sects. Fellow Taoist Huang Tong's cultivation. I can't compare. Just as Xiao Hua's voice fell, Huang Tong flew out from Xiao Hua's space and laughed. Fellow Taoist Xiao is too humble. Although I have been comprehending space law ever since I entered the mysterious origin space and cultivated the space escape technique, my understanding of space law is far inferior to yours. In particular, your sense of direction in the void is really unparalleled. Even in the mysterious origin space where there are countless space domain experts, no one can compare to you. With this talent, you also know the pure escape magics of 5 elements, the rare escape magics of wind and thunder. Oh, and the escape magics of light, which I have never heard of before. Only when all these magics are put together can you accurately cross countless space and reach this place. Fellow Taoist Xiao, with your current space escape technique, even in the mysterious origin space, you are now the #1 space expert. No one can compare to you. Xiao Hua urged his body and flew towards the depths of the demon realm. He laughed and said, I's other abilities may be worse, but when it comes to escape techniques, it's still. However, before Xiao Hua could finish his words, he suddenly stopped. His expression changed greatly as he looked at Huang Tong in surprise. Then he looked at Huang Tong again. Just as Xiao Hua's expression changed, he was also shocked. He almost subconsciously shouted, Quick, fellow Taoist Xiao, there is a change in space. Damn it! Xiao Hua cursed. His body was instantly filled with lightning. Huang Tong's body swayed and stopped again. Her phoenix eyes were like lightning as she looked at the void in the distance and smiled bitterly. Xiao Hua, according to our previous discussion, I need to roughly determine the direction of the 10,000 demon realm first, then we can go together. Now that there is a change, there is not much time to confirm. Although after you transform I can control your body, but in the void I can't move freely. It is better for you to control. Everything is up to you now. While speaking, Xiao Hua's body had already begun to fade. The lightning gradually turned into lightning and covered the surrounding void. Xiao Hua nodded and said, Fellow Taoist, don't worry. You are me and I am you. We have already practiced in the Zhaohua Palace before, so there should be no problem. Fellow Taoist, don't be careless. Huang Tong's body swayed and fell into the lightning that had already faded. She shouted, The 10,000 demon realm and the 3 continents are worlds. The laws of heaven and earth between the worlds are completely different from the previous practice in the void. Huang Tong entered Xiao Hua's body. Whoa! A gust of wind mixed with the roar of thunder was born in the air. A phoenix cry that shook the surroundings rang out. Xiao Hua had already transformed into the shape of a phoenix, stretching out his neck and crying out. Chapter 4767. Immediately after, Xiao Hua's phoenix claws flashing with lightning and golden light grabbed at the void, and a crack appeared in the void. Xiao Hua's wings flashed, and he fell into the previously immature realm. Now the realm was completely different from before. Where Xiao Hua's figure landed, tens of millions of space vortexes had already appeared. These space vortexes were either big or small, and in the center of each vortex, there was a black and white light spot. The space vortexes expanded rapidly, pulling the entire realm into the light spot. The entire space was filled with distorted light and chaotic fluctuations. A destructive aura overflowed the entire space. Looking at the previously seemingly endless edge of the realm, now more than half of it had already transformed. Layers of fluctuations were surging towards the center of the realm like a tide. Every time there was a fluctuation there would be many vortexes. What was special was that after the tide, there was a powerful and vast dark color. This color was the realm's power that Huang Tong mentioned. Now the realm's power was chaotic, and it surrounded the entire realm. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over and immediately understood that this realm was not fully mature. Under the tearing of the 3 continents' realms, it was already extremely unstable. That day, in order to ambush Xiao Hua, the nether demon dragon spider had already used its spatial ability between this realm and the 3 continents. This spatial ability inevitably allowed the spatial laws of the three continents to seep into this realm. The spatial laws of the three continents disturbed the spatial laws of this realm, and then destroyed the spatial structure of this realm. Later, when Xiao Hua and the others fought here, the spatial structure was damaged again. The most fatal thing was naturally the suppression of the great array of the 9 regions, which completely destroyed the spatial laws of this realm, causing the collapse and annihilation of this realm. That day when Xiao Hua and Huang Tong came to observe, because the collapse had just occurred, it only evolved at the edge and did not affect the entire realm. Many places had even begun to heal by themselves. When the collapse began to slowly occur, the destruction of the realm gradually began to accelerate. Xiao Hua rushed over now. If he was a day and a half later, he was afraid that he would not even be able to find this springboard to the 10,000 demon realm. Xiao Hua did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly flapped his wings and thousands of thunderbolts were born from his wings. They fell on the collapsed realm, and immediately destroyed the vortexes within 100 miles. At the same time, the warped shadows and chaotic fluctuations were instantly swept away, and a copious, vast, upright and dignified will of lightning enveloped the surroundings. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Xiao Hua's pair of wings flapped again. This time, wave after wave of strange runes gushed out like a tide. These runes were actually like little tadpoles, falling into the lightning brush and instantly disappearing without a trace. However, there were also some tadpoles that turned into light and shadow and gradually began to distort. At the same time, a thick pitch-black color gushed out from the surrounding lightning. The power of the realm had begun to attack the power of lightning. Quick! Inside Xiao Hua's body, Huang Tong hurriedly urged. Xiao Hua flapped his wings again and runes poured into the void like a river. Half a meal's worth of cultivation technique, Xiao Hua actually began to tremble. The space within 100 miles around him also began to shrink rapidly, and vortexes began to appear one after another. Once again Xiao Hua let out a phoenix cry. His sharp claws appeared out of thin air, flashing with dazzling lightning. Within this lightning there was a dazzling brilliance. The brilliance flashed rapidly with an indescribable rhythm. Pooh! The lightning claws pierced deeply into the place where the runes were pouring in. Ka-ka-ka! The void was torn apart, and layers of destructive realm aura gushed out from the cracks. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept out, and he became anxious again. This was because within the cracks in the void, there were no gorgeous colors like before. There were only layers of pitch-black shadows. An unparalleled force emerged from the shadows and rushed towards the spatial cracks where Xiao Hua was located. Damn it! Xiao Hua cursed and hurriedly asked in his heart, "Fellow Huang Tong, what should we do?" Xiao Hua. Huang Tong's voice was also filled with bitterness. She helplessly replied, "This is the result of not being able to find the realm dimension. Without the realm dimension, the space escape technique cannot be used at all. Is there nothing we can do?" Xiao Hua was really unwilling. After preparing for so long, how could it end here? The power of the collapse of the realm is too great. Huang Tong replied, "The space laws of this realm have already been destroyed. Within the chaotic space laws, I don't have any good ideas. Unless we can escape from the space laws. But now that we are in this realm, how can we escape from the space laws?" Hearing this, Xiao Hua's heart moved and he proudly said, "Ha, others may not be able to do it, but I can definitely do it." After speaking, Xiao Hua's figure once again flashed with lightning. His wings flapped and he rushed into the spatial cracks. Oh! Huang Tong was shocked and said, "Without the realm dimension, entering the void is death." Unfortunately, before Huang Tong finished speaking, his voice was slowly stretched even in Xiao Hua's heart. Xiao Hua urged his spiritual power to use the thunder escape technique. A series of shadows appeared on the spot, dragging their distorted bodies into the spatial cracks. The pitch-black shadows were like moths to a flame. The strange thing was that when the thunder escape technique reached its limit, circles of light spots appeared around Xiao Hua. Although these light spots were pitch-black in Xiao Hua's eyes, they were different shades of black. It was like the sky after a strong wind covered with clouds. Moreover, within these light spots, layers of different fluctuations rushed out from different light spots. Of course, at this time, there were many gaps between the fluctuations. Seeing that there were gaps, Xiao Hua was overjoyed. He opened his mouth again and one by one green seal characters rushed out. The obscure screams of gods and ghosts seemed to rush out from the abyss. The green seal characters actually gave birth to a very faint passage in the space laws. Wisps of black and white brilliance rushed out from the surroundings and fell on the outline of the passage. Xiaohua's body, which had already reached its limit, stepped on the passage. His eyes lit up again, but he saw strands of gorgeous colors from the other side of the passage. These colors fell into Xiaohua's eyes and turned into scenes. It could be a huge mountain range or a deep forest or a flying spirit clan. Wasn't it the scene of the 10,000 demon realm? Xiaohua's body trembled slightly, clearly due to excitement. He took a deep breath. Jie. Another hiss sounded. Unfortunately, this hiss didn't make any sound. Then Xiaohua's claws clawed at the passageway. Swoosh. A jagged crack instantly rushed from one end of the passageway to the other. At the same time, an incomparably enormous force emerged from the left side of the light spot. As the light spot collapsed, all the light shadows retreated towards the other end of the passageway. Although Xiaohua's figure didn't move, it also seemed to be retreating at extreme speed. Not good. Xiaohua was shocked. He knew that if he withdrew from the Thunder Escape technique, the realm dimension of the 10,000 demon realm would disappear. Chapter 4768. Kakaka. Xiaohua didn't hesitate to use his space escape technique again. Layer upon layer of runes gushed out once more, and wherever the lightning passed, the space cracked once more. Xiaohua's entire body felt as if it was being suppressed by a huge mountain range. Even moving half an inch took a great deal of effort. Gah! Another unyielding cry rang out. This time, as the sound spread out, the nearby space was shaken to the point of shattering. As Xiaohua's wings flashed with difficulty, he charged into the crack in space that was on the verge of collapse. Xiaohua's figure fell into the crack, and the strange scene in the crack reappeared. It was completely different from the space escape technique he used in the realm before. A distorted and abnormal passage appeared in front of Xiaohua. On the four walls of this passage, signs of annihilation intertwined with scenes of the 10,000 demon realm. There were even scenes of the mountains and rivers of the three continents. When these scenes fell on the passage, the four walls rippled like water waves. Whoosh whoosh. Xiaohua's figure flashed like a stream of light in the passage. The light and darkness intertwined and instantly covered thousands of miles. Behind him, the sounds of collapsing followed. The thick pitch-black shadow rushed over like a tsunami. After a while, the four walls of the passage became thinner and the five colors became more intense. However, an aura more majestic than the collapse force behind him gradually approached. Xiaohua understood that this was the space barrier of the 10,000 demon realm. When he looked at the passageway again, he saw that it was becoming increasingly distorted. Moreover, the passageway was of varying sizes. Even the runes on the walls of the passageway earlier were emitting cryptic fluctuations, ingeniously blocking the mountain-like vastness of the passageway. Xiaohua's heart calmed down slightly, but it was only for a moment. Boom boom boom. The five colors in the distance were quickly annihilated, and the pitch-black color appeared once again. It quickly swallowed all the colors and rushed towards Xiaohua. The originally thin passage instantly collapsed, and only the outline of the passage was left, like the branches of a big tree swaying in the berserk power of the boundary. Damn it! Xiaohua was shocked. His figure was almost blown to a halt by the incoming power of the realm. Xiaohua cursed inwardly and suddenly turned his head around. Not far from him, another kind of realm power was chasing after him even more rapidly than before. Moreover, this realm power also carried a strong sense of destruction. Comparing the two realm forces, Xiaohua naturally made a choice. He flapped his wings crazily. The strange runes also rushed out crazily. A strange force formed in the space, breaking open a gap in the realm force. Xiaohua's figure rushed into the gap. Boom. Xiaohua's figure fell into the gap. The two forces of the boundary collided with each other, like two huge waves in the sea. Roar, destruction, darkness, light. In an instant, death and rebirth coexisted. Everything burst forth. Xiaohua only felt his body tighten. Two unparalleled forces hit his body at the same time. No matter how much he urged his transcendence energy, he wanted to block this force. However, all of his defenses collapsed and shattered under the power of this realm. A wave of unstoppable dizziness hit him. Xiaohua immediately sank into complete darkness. Fortunately, although Xiaohua lost his will, the outline of the passage still existed. Xiaohua's figure was backtracked by the realm force and gradually drifted into the realm barrier of the 10,000 demon realm. After an unknown amount of time, Xiaohua finally woke up. Hum 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 hum. A series of earth-shattering sounds that sounded like the roar of a mountain and the roar of a tsunami still reverberated in his mind and ears. Xiaohua opened his eyes. He couldn't see the scene in front of him at all. An indescribable fainting made everything in his eyes shake. There was even a kind of nausea that he hadn't experienced for a long time crazily rolling in his body. Xiaohua wanted to release his spiritual sense, but it was also unstable. Moreover, as soon as it rushed out of his body, Xiaohua felt his body was spinning and couldn't stop at all. Damn it. Xiaohua knew that he didn't have much time. Burning with anxiety, he hurriedly wanted to urge his spiritual essence. However, as soon as he urged his spiritual essence, Xiaohua felt that something was wrong. Because his spiritual essence was also spinning, he couldn't control it at all. Helplessly, Xiaohua closed his eyes and withdrew his spiritual essence. Xiaohua had just closed his eyes when bursts of pain came from all over his body. Xiaohua couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. After all, his physical body had been tempered to a terrifying degree and he hadn't been injured for many years. The realm force. Xiaohua couldn't help but sigh, this is the power of heaven and earth. If it wasn't for this Xiao's physical body being comparable to the great saint of the demon clan, I'm afraid I would have fallen outside the realm today. Thinking of this, Xiaohua became anxious again because he couldn't tell where he was now. Xiaohua wanted to think about what had just happened, but his mind was spinning rapidly, making it impossible for him to calm down and think. In a moment, Xiaohua gave up. After a full 3 days, the nausea in Xiaohua's chest gradually disappeared, and the churning in his mind gradually calmed down. Although his divine sense still didn't dare to leave his body, Xiaohua still opened his eyes. Caw. Before Xiaohua could clearly see the scene around him, a clear cry resounded above his head. A fierce force was born from several hundred meters away, and it attacked towards the space between Xiaohua's eyebrows. Although Xiaohua couldn't see anything, he knew clearly in his heart that he didn't know what had happened. He coldly snorted and didn't open his eyes. When the force came closer, he immediately clenched his fist and punched towards the sky. Xiaohua couldn't help but grimace as the pain in his body greatly reduced the force of his fist. However, even so, after a boom sound of an explosion, Jia, was heard, followed by a series of muffled sounds of flesh being torn apart. Finally, with a pew sound, it was as if a heavy object had fallen to the ground, causing a series of splashing sounds. And this place is probably not the void. Hearing these movements, Xiaohua thought to himself. His heart settled, and then he slowly opened his eyes. The first thing that entered Xiaohua's eyes was a gloomy sky. The sun was shining with boundless heat, and it was hanging there. Around the sun, there were thick dark clouds covering the sky as if a storm was coming. Seeing the familiar sky, Xiaohua's heart couldn't help but thump, thinking that this was bad. When he hurriedly propped up his upper body with difficulty and looked around, his heart instantly turned cold. Chapter 4769. It was a quagmire and Xiaohua was lying on the edge of the quagmire. A huge black and white vulture was still struggling in the center of the quagmire. The turbid muddy water and the vulture's flesh and blood splashed in all directions. Looking around the quagmire, there were tall vines and shrubs. The tangled branches and lush leaves covered the nearby hills. Further away from the hills was an ancient forest. The ancient forest looked very deep, and some whirlwinds blew out from the forest, lifting layers of fallen leaves. Damn it, is this still the Thousand Demons' sacred realm? Xiaohua looked at this scene and immediately thought of some of the places he encountered when he transformed into the python dragon. He couldn't help but curse. Xiaohua unwillingly released his divine sense again. Who knew that as soon as he released his divine sense, his mind would become dizzy again. The upper body that had just propped up fell into the quagmire again. Fellow Taoists? Xiaohua urged his mind to enter the space, but at this time the space seemed to be spinning. Xiaohua's mind couldn't find the space no matter what. After trying a few times, Xiaohua helplessly gave up. This was the result of the collision between the two realms. As long as he ignored it, he would probably slowly recover. After closing his eyes for a long time, Xiaohua opened his eyes and looked at his body that was half under the quagmire and half above the quagmire. At this time on Xiaohua's body, it could be said that there was no unscathed. Pieces of scars were exposed, revealing the traces of internal tears. Although these traces were already slowly healing, there were still some faint golden threads appearing between the tears, as if they were preventing the wounds from healing. Xiaohua couldn't use his magic power, so he naturally couldn't speed up the healing. After his gaze swept over, he just wanted to look elsewhere. However, when his gaze fell on a shrub that was at least 1,000 feet in size, he was suddenly shocked and once again looked at his body. How is this possible? Xiaohua saw his body clearly and couldn't help but tremble in his heart. He muttered to himself, I didn't use my Transcendence golden body at all. How could my golden body be revealed? Moreover, I remember that I used my Phoenix celestial body before. Even if I can't restore my human body, it has to be the Phoenix celestial body. Just as Xiaohua was thinking about this, a gust of wind blew by, and then a golden light descended from the sky like sprinkles, and it enveloped the entire pool. Xiaohua was taken aback and unconsciously looked up. When he saw everything in front of him, he shouted in ecstasy, "Haha, sure enough, this is the 10,000 demon realm. The 3 continents are saved." Xiaohua looked up and saw a golden sun that was only 30% the size of the previous sun appear from the dense clouds. A golden pillar of light sprinkled down on the earth. Wasn't he the Hao Yang that little white dragon mentioned? The golden light of the vast sun landed on Xiaohua's body, and Xiaohua felt a burst of coolness entering his body. The golden threads on the wound of the golden body flowed rapidly, and the wound that couldn't heal for a long time actually sped up. Realm of demons. Sure enough, it's somewhat interesting. Xiaohua's heart moved as if he had understood something. After half a day, when the clouds once again covered the sun, most of the injuries on Xiao Huajin's body had healed. The clouds covered most of the sky and even the sun was hidden. Gusts of wind fell from the sky, and in a moment bean-sized raindrops fell with a pitter-patter. Xiaohua didn't want to move, but when he saw the filth of the quagmire gradually rising and drowning him, he could only slowly stand up. This standing still didn't matter, but the whole world spun again. Xiaohua's several hundred feet tall golden body staggered a few steps, and with a putong sound, he half knelt in the quagmire. He lowered his head to look at the quagmire, and a painful expression appeared on his face. In a moment, the raindrops had already turned into lines and fell down, and the entire pool was covered with fist-sized splashes. Looking at the vulture that attacked Xiaohua just now, it had already stopped struggling, and fell dead in the pool, gradually submerged by the water. Seeing the water of the pool gradually reach his legs, Xiaohua once again took a breath, straightened up, and staggered towards the edge of the pool. Roar. Unfortunately, before he could get close to the shore, another beast roar sounded. From the mud of the pool, a grayish-black monster of 1,000 feet in size pounced out. That monster rushed out of the pool, and its long beastly mouth bit towards Xiaohua's waist. In the rain-soaked monster's mouth, there were fangs several feet in size, and they clearly revealed a dark green light. Damn it. At this moment, Xiaohua was very weak, and he couldn't use any of his divine abilities. Moreover, when he waved his fist, the monster in his eyes actually showed signs of twisting and spinning, and his attack actually missed. The monster's mouth was about to bite Xiaohua's waist. Xiaohua didn't know the monster's strength at this moment, so how could he dare to let it succeed? He hurriedly dodged, wanting to dodge, but unfortunately this dodge was actually in the wrong direction. His figure once again rushed towards the monster, and it was as if Xiaohua himself was rushing over. But fortunately, without waiting for the monster's huge teeth to descend, Xiaohua's legs stomped, and with a ping sound he kicked the monster's neck. That monster was immediately kicked flying, its 3,000 feet long body tumbled in midair, and the pool water and mud splashed high up into the air. Just as the monster flipped over a few times, boom! An explosive sound rang out, and the monster's 3,000-meter-long monster body exploded out of thin air. Xiaohua's figure was unstable and he couldn't control his strength. With this kick, just like how he dealt with Vulture earlier, the monster was killed in one blow. Seeing countless pieces of flesh and broken bones scattered around the quagmire, Xiaohua took a deep breath, and with ethereal steps, he prepared to rush out of the quagmire. However, even such a small quagmire was actually filled with danger. Xiaohua had only taken a few steps into the air when a gust of wind howled. In the distant quagmire that had previously soared into the sky, a huge python that was several hundred feet long rushed out again. The sinister python head spat out its scarlet tongue and pounced towards the scattered flesh and blood in the air. The long python tail even streaked across the air and whipped towards Xiaohua's back. At the same time, swish swish swish. With a series of sounds, not only strange and ugly beast heads poked out of the quagmire, but there were also strange beasts in the mud around the quagmire, either long or square. Apparently they were attracted by the smell of blood. Even the vines that were originally swaying in the wind suddenly expanded in the wind, pouncing towards the broken bones scattered below him. The world in Xiaohua's eyes was still spinning. After his punch hit empty air, the huge python's tail precisely hit Xiaohua's back. Xiaohua's golden body slightly swayed, and he already had an idea in his heart. However, seeing so many beasts in the spinning world, he couldn't help but curse inwardly, "Damn it." Chapter 4770. Then Xiaohua retracted some of his strength, raised his hand and grabbed the tail of the giant python. Poof! His 5 fingers pierced deeply into the python's body, and blood splattered everywhere. Hiss hiss. The giant python was clearly in pain. It frantically twisted and turned, wanting to break free. Xiaohua exerted strength with one arm. Boo! The python's body swayed outside the quagmire. Pa pa pa! It sent the monsters that had just poked their heads out flying. Even the torrential rain was disrupted. The rain poured down and there was no light or shadow in the whole world. There was only darkness and gloomy water light. Xiaohua couldn't activate the golden light to protect his body. The rain poured down on him, completely drenching his entire body. Since he could not see the situation around him, Xiaohua simply closed his eyes and used the giant python as a weapon, swinging it as he walked towards the edge of the quagmire. The giant python was still struggling desperately at first, but after a while, it became obedient, and no matter how Xiaohua swung it, it did not move. Obviously, it was conquered by Xiaohua's unparalleled strength. After walking for nearly half a cup of tea's time, Xiaohua gradually felt that something was wrong, because he was originally at the edge of the quagmire, and was about 1,000 feet away from the ground. If the direction was right, he would have stepped on solid ground at this time. This Xiao's luck can't be that bad, right? Xiaohua shook his head as if to shake off the turbulent sea in his mind, and when he narrowed his eyes slightly, he could not help but sigh. He really went in the wrong direction, and in just half a cup of tea's time, he had walked a lot deeper into the quagmire. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed slightly and looked at the sloping shore. Just as he was about to take another step, he suddenly froze again, because the noise in the rain just now had completely disappeared, and the whole world was filled with the sound of hua hua. Hee. Xiaohua smiled and squinted his eyes to look at the swaying quagmire on the left. Sure enough, after the monsters that suddenly appeared swallowed the scattered flesh and blood, they did not leave, but quietly looked at him as if waiting for the best time to attack. Damn it, this Xiao is a human Mahayana stage, although I don't know the situation of the peak strength of the 10,000 demon realm. No matter what, this Xiao is still a sun ranker. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He cursed in his heart. Now, a bunch of low-class monsters are coveting it. This is what they mean by, a dragon in shallow water will be toyed with by shrimps, and a tiger will be bullied by dogs when it goes down to the plains. Oh, you are much stronger than shrimps, but in this Xiao's eyes, what difference is there between you and shrimps? As he thought about it, Xiaohua decided not to bother with the monsters who chose the right moment to attack. He dragged the python with him and managed to get his bearings before he staggered to the shore. Seemingly shaken by Xiaohua's calmness, none of the monsters dared to act rashly. Seeing Xiaohua's golden body slowly approaching the shore, all of the monsters suddenly pounced over, even denser than the rain falling from the sky. Sigh. Xiaohua was somewhat helpless. He already understood that these were merely demon beasts. He reckoned that they couldn't even get into the ranks of middle or small spirits. Otherwise they wouldn't be so lacking in intelligence. Since the demon beasts weren't afraid of death, Xiaohua could only try his hand at it. The pitiful python was once again waved about, and like a soft whip, it streaked through the air, sending the smaller demon beasts flying. A moment later, a low sound rang out. Xiaohua's hand tightened, and a huge force came from the python's body. Xiaohua frowned and looked over again. He saw a thick vine actually extend from the ground, firmly hooking onto the python's body. Ah! Xiaohua laughed. He used his strength to pull and his entire body flew up. He landed at the edge of the quagmire and grabbed onto the vine. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The vine fell into Xiaohua's hand, and unexpectedly had a slippery feeling. It twisted and turned, wanting to break free from Xiaohua's hand. In fact, there were even hundreds of vines stretching out from the ground, like tentacles wanting to bind Xiaohua. Rise! Xiaohua growled. His arms exerted strength, and his body flew up from the quagmire once again, landing on the shore. At the same time, Xiaohua shook his hand. The vines swayed, turning into a shadow, and sent the falling vines flying. Boom! Xiaohua's body landed. The ground was full of mud, and it wasn't much better than the quagmire. However, Xiaohua was still a human, and having his feet on the ground made him feel slightly more stable. However, Xiaohua still thought too much. Without waiting for his body to stabilize, swoosh swoosh swoosh. Indescribable vines and strange demon beasts all rushed out from the ground between the mountain rocks, and even from the cracks in the rocks. They pounced on Xiaohua's golden body. Every demon beast's mouth was filled with flashing sharp teeth, and every vine had sharp thorns. Is there an end to this? Previously, Xiaohua didn't kill indiscriminately except for the vulture and the monster because he didn't have enough strength. Now that he saw himself on the shore, there were still so many vines and monsters that didn't know the difference between life and death. If it was a normal situation, he could release his power and escape as much as he could. However, right now he couldn't use any of his divine abilities, and could only tangle with these little things here. His heart was also burning with anger. Roar! Xiaohua roared. First, his hands clenched and he grasped the vine in his hand. Boom! A deep gully was opened in the ground, and he pulled out a vine that was at least 10,000 feet long from the ground. Then he grabbed the vine with both hands and pulled it to both sides. Pah! The rattan was torn apart and a light green and bloody liquid splashed out. Xiaohua's hand could even feel the rattan twitching due to the pain. Xiaohua coldly snorted. With a wave of his hand, he threw away the 2 pieces of rattan. Then he took a few steps forward and kicked away a few roaring monsters that pounced at him. With a grab of his hand, he grabbed the other rattan that was whipping his waist. Boom! Another loud sound rang out, and this vine was lifted up again. In just a moment, dozens of vines were lifted up by Xiaohua. The entire ground was also crisscrossed with ravines and rainwater poured in like a river. While chopping the vines, Xiaohua's legs weren't idle. He used ethereal steps and kicked away many monsters. Looking at Xiaohua's awe-inspiring appearance, it was like punching a tiger in the south and kicking a flood dragon in the north. However, the more Xiaohua fought, the heavier his heart became. It wasn't that there were no monsters in the 3 continents. When Xiaohua transformed into a python and followed Shui Mingzi and the others to Bai Qingyu, he had crossed a part of the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Back then, even those as strong as Shui Mingzi and the other Taoist cultivators would have fallen under the mouths of the monsters in the Thousand Demons sacred realm if they didn't have Xiaohua's help. And the monsters here were far more powerful than the monsters in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Chapter 4771. With such monsters? No, with such spiritual creatures everywhere, whether it's my human race or the demon race, I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to survive. Xiaohua thought as he pulled up a vine from the ground and made it into a whip. Huff huff. He waved the vine, then reduced his strength and tangled it with the spiritual vines and other spiritual creatures. In the time it took to eat a meal, under the mighty Xiaohua's fists and feet, the area within a radius of several li had been cleared. Broken vines twisted on the ground like snake tails, and spiritual creatures that looked like round balls rolled on the ground, allowing the rain to wash them away. At this time, the dizziness in Xiaohua's eyes did not improve in the slightest. There's really no meaning in fighting with you little things. Xiaohua's eyes narrowed as he endured the shaking light in front of him. He threw away the vine in his hand and faintly muttered to himself. At this time, he had already roughly grasped the strength of these spiritual creatures. There were not as many spiritual creatures in the quagmire as on the shore. Their strength was roughly second-grade essence energy, and the vines on the shore were similar to the spiritual creatures in the quagmire. As for those spiritual creatures that drilled out from the cracks in the rocks and the ground, they were only first-grade essence energy. Of course, these spiritual creatures were only small things in Xiaohua's eyes, but to be honest, they were all 9th-level essence energy, and even foundation-building cultivator strength. If placed in the Dawn Rain continent, they would be amazing existences. Compared to the danger here, the Dawn Rain continent's Ink Shadow Black Forest and Flame Forest Swamp could be considered carefree places. Xiaohua threw away the vine, then immediately clenched his fist and vigorously punched the ground. Boom! With a loud sound, the entire earth trembled. A crack that was more than 10 zhang long appeared on the ground and rapidly spread towards the mountain peak in the quagmire. Shwa! The crack spread to the quagmire, and some of the muddy water immediately poured down. Dozens of spiritual creatures that looked like fish monsters in the muddy water scrambled to escape, all of them frightened by the power of Xiaohua's punch. At the same time, when the crack stopped on the mountain peak, several ancient trees fell, and the swaying vines weakly drooped down. For a moment, like before, the quagmire's surroundings were peaceful again. Umph! Xiaohua coldly snorted and shouted in the language of the 10,000 demon realm, "Calm down. I'm just resting here for a while. If you disturb me again, don't blame me for being impolite." While speaking, Xiaohua didn't care if the nearby Fays understood. His golden body sat cross-legged on the ground and prepared to meditate. After all, his 5 senses weren't sensitive, and it wasn't convenient for him to go anywhere. Unfortunately, Xiaohua was still disappointed. Just as he sat down, boom boom boom. A series of low rumbling sounds came from afar. Moreover, the entire earth was slightly trembling. A kind of faint sound like a tsunami came from the distant night rain. Xiaohua was naturally unable to release his spiritual sense, but as a Grand Ascension stage Taoist, he still possessed keen senses, and his brows furrowed slightly as he cast his gaze toward the source of the voice. In the night, the rain danced wantonly. The undulating mountain ridge in the darkness was like an ancient beast desperately struggling to break free from the shackles of the earth. The ancient forest swayed left and right like a graceful woman. Patches of multicolored light inexplicably appeared in the pitch-black night, rapidly assaulting Xiaohua's vision. Wave after wave of water ripples enveloped the surrounding heaven and earth, once again forming an enormous passageway. Xiaohua shook his head, and the light projection before his eyes instantly disappeared. However, as soon as the light projection disappeared, a wave of dizziness and nausea welled up in Xiaohua's heart. Xiaohua sighed and remained silent as he observed the situation. After the time it took to finish a cup of tea, the sound of footsteps rang out. The earth tremored and the forest collapsed. Several black shadows over 10,000 feet in size emerged from the rain in the distance. Oh, so it's a mountain spirit. Xiaohua could just barely make out a mountainous black shadow approaching him, and he came to a sudden realization. This was very similar to the mountain spirit he had seen in the Star Moon Palace. However, it appeared that this mountain spirit was different from that mountain spirit. It was able to bring its main body with it. When Xiaohua turned his head to look again, he saw that there were 3 black figures of the same size walking over from afar and near him. It should be that punch of mine that attracted them here. Xiaohua smiled and stood up clumsily. Whoa! Right at this moment, another strange gust of wind blew, and the rain that was originally pouring down fell towards the source of the strange gust of wind. However, a transparent ball of water that looked like an octopus flew over in the wind and rain, and it seemed to be several acres in size. Oh, is this a water spirit? Xiaohua was surprised. This was the first time he had seen a water spirit. Ao. The mountain spirit closest to Xiaohua was already approaching. It looked like a cheetah, and it was precisely the one that let out the most roars. Beside it, another mountain spirit looked like a multi-armed ape. On each of its 3 to 5 long arms, huge rocks bulged out, looking like the muscles on its arms. Oh, I understand now. Xiaohua's gaze swept over, and he came to a sudden realization. The main bodies of these mountain spirits are still unable to move. It seems that they have gathered the huge rocks nearby and used them as their shells. These mountain spirits must be envious of the spirit beasts running freely on the mountain peaks, so they transformed into their forms. Ao. The sound of wind howling seemed to be the sound of howling wind. The cheetah-like mountain spirit had already discovered Xiaohua's existence, and an ice-cold will swept over Xiaohua. The mountain spirit had already pounced over. The mountain spirit appeared to be enormous, at least several thousand feet tall. Wherever the mountain spirit passed, the ancient trees were all pushed down. The weaker wood spirits fled in panic. Even the previously arrogant vines were hiding far away from it. Damn it, this is an unfair advantage. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he stood up. He looked at the mountain spirit that was several times larger than him. The gust of wind attacking him could blow away the mountain rain, but how could it mess up the hair of a Mahayana cultivator? And not to mention that Xiaohua's hair was already wet from the rain. Xiaohua looked at the cheetah-like paw that was twisted and twisted in the air, and the howling mountain winds had already enveloped him. A faint smile appeared on his face, and he threw a heaven-shattering punch toward the gust of wind. Boom! A huge rumbling sound rang out, and then, puff 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 puff. Bursts of air waves and explosive sounds emerged from the cheetah's left paw, rapidly spreading towards the cheetah's body. The hard mountain rocks turned into powder one after another, and the powder was blown away by the fierce wind. Moments later, a mountain-like mountain spirit appeared from the dust. It was like a burly man who had suddenly been stripped of his clothes, and it stood there in a very embarrassed and dazed manner. Chapter 4772. Ao. The mountain spirit was originally in the shape of a mountain. After being at a loss for a moment, it suddenly roared again. Its entire body rapidly shrank, and finally, it turned into a rock that was dozens of feet in size and charged towards Xiaohua. Seeing the light and shadow overflowing from the rock, and the spiritual qi that was purer than the spiritual qi of heaven and earth condensing into thin threads, Xiaohua sneered. The impact of the mountain spirit was unparalleled, and it could even overturn mountains and seas. However, at this moment, Xiaohua's eyes were filled with disdain. Moreover, the mountain spirit in this state was a spiritual object refined by Taoist cultivators. Not to mention anything else, if Xiaohua refined this mountain spirit into the seal of overturning sea, the power of the seal of overturning sea would increase by a bit. Fortunately, Xiaohua was benevolent. If it was a spiritless object, he would have used it. Looking at this mountain spirit, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of the affectionate and righteous mountain spirit in the spatial spiritual world. Xiaohua's mind turned, and he raised his leg, kicking the mountain spirit that was charging towards him away. Rumble. Wherever the mountain spirit passed, rumbling sounds could be heard. No matter if it was an ancient tree or a mountain in front of him, they were all pierced through. GG. At this moment, the other ape-like mountain spirit also pounced from another direction, and that mountain spirit's mouth also let out a sound similar to that of an ape. Unsurprisingly, this mountain spirit was also kicked away by Xiaohua in the end. However, this time, it flew straight up into the sky, and when it would fall back down was not something Xiaohua had to worry about. Ao. Although the mountain spirit was clumsy at this moment, it also reacted. The other two mountain spirits stopped there awkwardly, and they looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Shwa. At this moment, the water spirit that had previously absorbed all the rainwater within a few hundred miles had now turned into a huge octopus. Its water tentacles that were thousands of feet long streaked across the sky and fell towards Xiaohua. When the water tentacles fell into Xiaohua's eyes, countless colors instantly appeared, and endless colors rushed into Xiaohua's mind, causing him to stagger again. The water spirit was obviously more intelligent than the mountain spirit. Seeing Xiaohua like this, it became even more arrogant, and the tentacles hidden in the night sky madly pounced, wanting to tear Xiaohua to pieces. Xiaohua steadied himself and narrowed his eyes. He was about to throw out a punch, but when he heard the sound of the water spirit tentacles breaking through the air, Xiaohua smiled. He crossed his arms and stood there proudly. He looked at the tentacles indifferently and had no intention of fighting back. The water spirit naturally wouldn't try to probe Yang Kai like a human, sending out several tentacles to smash him. Hong hong hong. The water that had condensed into tentacles was naturally no longer ordinary rainwater. When the water that was harder than mountain rocks smashed onto Xiaohua's body, it turned into fragments. Although Xiaohua's body did not flicker with golden light, he still did not receive the slightest bit of damage. Woo-woo. The water spirit seemed to be angered by this humiliation and began to go berserk, its tentacles turning into threads of water that shot towards Xiaohua. The water silks enveloped the area around Xiaohua, and the mountain rocks and trees were reduced to dust. However, Xiaohua was too lazy to put up any resistance when he heard the power of the water silks that couldn't even tear the void apart. Chi-chi. As the water silks fell on Xiaohua's body, they were unable to tear his skin. Xiaohua shrugged lazily, thinking about how he had made such a big fuss just now. He couldn't help feeling a little amused. In the end, he simply sat down cross-legged and allowed the water spirit to attack. After the time it would take to brew a cup of tea, the water spirit's water silks continued to bombard Xiaohua's face, not even scratching an itch. The water spirit even tried to entangle Xiaohua with the water silks, but Xiaohua only needed to use a little strength to tear them apart. A moment later, the water spirit took back its tentacles and water silks, its huge body rapidly shrinking, transforming into a ball of water several tens of meters in size. This ball of water slowly rotated in the air, sucking in the surrounding rainwater once more. At the same time, the rich world's yuan qi madly poured into it. However, as the ball of water gradually formed, a slightly terrifying aura emerged from it, causing Xiaohua to open his eyes. So, without waiting for Xiaohua's gaze to fall on the water spirit immediately turned into a streak of light and rushed into the distant darkness, disappearing from sight. The water spirit's escape was extremely sudden. Not to mention the two stupid mountain spirits, even Xiaohua was baffled by its sudden escape. In fact, Xiaohua was not looking at the water spirit, but rather at the sky, because at this moment the amount of rain falling from the sky had decreased a lot. He didn't know whether it was because the water spirit had absorbed it or because the rain had gradually stopped. Bang bang bang. Following that, the sound of running could be heard again. The mountain spirit, who had transformed into a wild beast, was running away even faster than before. Amidst the rumbling sounds, fine raindrops started to fall from the sky once again. The world finally calmed down. Even the mountain spirits and water spirits were unable to shake Xiaohua, so naturally the spirit creatures around the quagmire no longer dared to offend him. Xiaohua was finally able to calm down and think about the current situation. Needless to say, this place must be the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua closed his eyes. Inside his body, there seemed to be a small rotating world. His thoughts were also coming out randomly. Although I encountered many dangers in the collapsing world at the boundary barrier, I'm finally here now. The collapse of the hidden realm of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm must have stopped immortal Emperor Goqin Ao Jia, and even the Virokana revered one from prying into my whereabouts. Even those who want to follow me will be disappointed. If this Xiao didn't know the space escape technique, if this Xiao didn't know how to travel in the opposite direction, if this Xiao didn't have a strong physical body, how could this Xiao have succeeded in reaching this place? However, we've arrived. But there was no way back. Previously, I was thinking of using that realm as a springboard. If I couldn't break the celestial formation, I could return to the 3 continents through that realm. Now, this idea was completely destroyed. Without a special technique or opportunity, it would be difficult to return. Of course, this was also a good thing. Without the space tunnel, the world-destroying ephemera could not reach the 10,000 demon realm. The descendants of the 3 continents human race, demon race, and dragon race should be able to continue to live and reproduce here. There are only 2 difficulties now. The first is that the 10,000 demon realm is too dangerous. Without an absolutely safe place, this Xiao can't send the descendants of the 3 continents out. Moreover, this 10,000 demon realm is different from the previous primitive desolation continent. There are many spiritual creatures here, and there are so many spiritual creatures around this small quagmire. The dangers of other places are unknown, and it is not realistic to set up a defensive formation for the human race. Also, the sea race and dragon race obviously have to be sent into the water, which is even more difficult to set up. Forget it, this Xiao should worry about the fortune gate first. Don't the other descendants have guards? This Xiao shouldn't get involved. Chapter 4773. The second difficulty is naturally how to find the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua thought to himself bitterly, this Xiao is not good at finding directions, and I just happened to run into 2 useless assistants. One has her memory sealed, who knows when she will recover, the other has lived in the Heavenly Blessing Palace since young and only knows the general idea. Now it's even better, I just fell into the 10,000 demon realm and encountered a realm collapse, who knows where I am now. According to the little white dragon, the 10,000 demon realm is several times bigger than the 3 continents. Where can I find it? Fortunately, this Xiao knows the space escape technique. I'll take a rest first, wait for my divine ability to recover, then I'll go find it. Xiaohua was secretly happy, but there was also a hint of sadness in his mind. After an unknown amount of time, a pa sound was heard in his ears. Xiaohua was slightly stunned and opened his eyes. The strange scene in front of him surprised this human Grand Ascension stage master. At this time, the 10,000 demon realm had disappeared, there was a clear and fragrant smell in the air, and the high sky was covered with stars. These stars were completely different from the stars in the 3 continents. Not only were they much denser, but the starlight was also vaguely colorful. Moreover, the stars were very large, there were some overlaps between them, and the colors intertwined, decorating the entire sky like a kaleidoscope. What was special was that in the corner of the starry sky, there were 3 moons of different colors hanging there, sprinkling different moonlight all over the earth. Xiaohua shook his head vigorously, rubbed his eyes and tried to look again. Although the stars in the sky had disappeared a lot, the 3 moons were still there. The full moon in front of his head was neither big nor small, it was similar to the full moon that Xiaohua often saw, like water and ice. The moonlight was clear and milky white. The one slightly behind was a purple full moon. This purple moon was twice as big as the previous one. Moreover, the edge of the purple moon seemed to have a sun-like flame. This flame was called the eerie purple moonlight that was projected into the night sky of the 10,000 demon realm. Parallel to the purple moon was a dark golden moon. This dark golden moon was only 30% the size of an ordinary moon. Moreover, this dark golden moon was not very bright. A layer of dim golden light that was softer than the mist scattered across the night sky. Oh my! Xiaohua only looked at it for a moment and felt that the 3 moons began to rotate. He did not dare to look at it for too long and hurriedly lowered his head, muttering to himself, "The night of the demon realm is really beautiful." When Xiaohua lowered his head, he landed in the quagmire in the distance. At this moment, the quagmire was different from the previous intense battle. Layers of lotus-like spirit objects were already spread out. These spirit objects were only 40% of the size of ordinary lotus-like spirit objects. In the center of the spirit objects, there was something like a flower stalk. This flower stalk flickered with an extremely faint purple color. As the purple moonlight shone down, it slowly produced a faint purple brilliance. The sound Xiaohua heard earlier should be the sound of these flower stalks poking out. Looking at the other side of the quagmire, there were also inexplicable spirit objects poking out from everywhere. These spirit objects, without exception, were all flashing with purple light. Occasionally there was also a faint dark golden light. Swish swish swish. There was also movement near Xiaohua. The vines that were torn apart by Xiaohua earlier were now secretly poking out from the ground. The broken vines were glowing like snow, and the wounds were slowly healing. Roar. A beast's roar came from the distant night sky. A pillar of purple moonlight fell through the sky and shrouded the area within 100 miles. Roar roar. In another place there was also a roar that was not to be outdone. Another pillar of dim golden moonlight fell. Immediately after, countless sounds were produced. Endless pillars of moonlight and stars completely shrouded the earth. Even the quagmire where Xiaohua was filled with an even richer purple moonlight. Xiaohua did not use his martial arts, but when the purple moonlight fell he did not need to use his martial arts at all. It quickly penetrated Xiaohua's skin, and a faint warm current mixed with a trace of wild aura poured into Xiaohua's body. No wonder it's called the 10,000 Demon Realm. Xiaohua secretly nodded. The energy of heaven and earth here is so rich. The power of the stars and moon at night is 10 times stronger than the 3 continents. Isn't this the demon race's paradise? Thinking of this, Xiaohua's heart was a little vigilant. After all, the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 Demon Realm were different from the 3 continents. The energy of heaven and earth here was so rich, and the power of the stars and moon was even more tyrannical. Maybe the heaven rank powerhouses here had surpassed the limit of 9th level elemental energy. Of course. At this time Xiaohua suddenly thought, didn't the Rainbow Sea God Shell say it clearly that day? Bei Ming's strength is much stronger than mine. Although I did not reach the peak of 9th level elemental energy at that time, I can still infer that Bei Ming's strength may have exceeded 9th level elemental energy. From Dyer's words, Bei Ming is one of the great sages in the 10,000 Demon Realm. In other words, there are great sages that are as powerful as Bei Ming. These great sages are all great sages that surpass the 1,000 Demon Realm. However, a moment later, looking at the gradually rotating halo in front of him, Xiaohua proudly said, so what if it's 10th level elemental energy? In order to avoid the laws of heaven and earth in the 3 continents, I have already concealed my cultivation in the Star Moon Palace. If I remove the immortal talisman, how can my strength not be 10th level elemental energy? Even if it's the great sages of the 10,000 Demon Realm, if they block my path, I will still kill them. When I recover my divine power tomorrow, I will immediately look for the space passage. Then Xiaohua's 5 hearts faced the sky and he rested. Unfortunately, Xiaohua's wish was beautiful and his ambition was praiseworthy, but he rested for more than 100 days. At the beginning of this 100 days, Xiaohua was quite anxious because there was not much time left for him, only 100 years. And he had just left the 3 continents and he had already wasted more than 100 days in this inexplicable corner of the 10,000 Demon Realm. Xiaohua struggled several times to leave the quagmire, but every time he walked a distance, he would return dejectedly. The damage caused by the collision of the realms was not only on his physical body, but also on the changes in the laws of heaven and earth. The 3 continents, the 10,000 Demon Realm, and the immature realm's laws of heaven and earth interfered with each other in his body. How could it be eliminated in a short time? Xiaohua almost thought that he would have to spend another 10 years or even decades to recover. 10 days later, Xiaohua saw that the rotation in his body had no intention of recovering, so he simply gave up escaping and took the initiative to immerse his mind into the rotation to comprehend, to see if he could find a suitable opportunity to stop the rotation. Chapter 4774. In the first 10 days Xiaohua's mind was aimless. He couldn't find the source of the rotation, and even his mind couldn't keep up with the rotation. After another 10 days Xiaohua's mind caught up with the rotation. After another 10 days Xiaohua's mind was still attached to the rotation, comprehending the 3 different laws of heaven and earth. After another 10 days Xiaohua's mind was moved. He began to use the one-heart secret technique in Qingqiu Mountain's mind-strengthening method to challenge the laws of heaven and earth to strengthen his mind. After 50 days, Xiaohua's mind was unprecedentedly strong under this unprecedented opportunity. He gradually had the strength to stop the laws of heaven and earth. In the last 30-some days Xiaohua had been using his mind to prevent the 3 types of world laws from wreaking havoc in his body. And in the end, although the 3 types of world laws still couldn't be completely stopped, their influence on Xiaohua had already weakened. Xiaohua could no longer see the multicolored world in front of him, and his mind was no longer spinning. Once his body returned to normal, Xiaohua immediately released Huang Tong from his body. Huang Tong was even worse than Xiaohua. She couldn't even stand still in the air. She flipped and flapped her wings. She shouted, "Xiaohua, take me back first. The impact of this realm is too strong. I haven't recovered yet." Xiaohua had no choice but to take Huang Tong back into his body. Then he focused his mind on the space. At this time Xiaohua could already sense the space. However, the void outside the space was permeated with an extremely large amount of boundary energy. This chaotic boundary energy triggered the boundary barrier of the space. When Xiaohua's consciousness fell on it, it was as if he was stepping on ice and snow. It immediately slid away and he couldn't enter. "Damn it!" Xiaohua cursed. He retracted his mind and looked around. Then he released his divine sense again. When he understood, Xiaohua activated his spiritual power. Lightning flashed around him as he flew into the distance. The moment Xiaohua left, the quagmire immediately became lively. Whether it was the vines, the giant pythons, or the spirit flowers in the distance, they all became active. In these 100 days each day felt like a year. Xiaohua retracted his mind and meditated to stop the laws of heaven and earth. His terrifying aura had already enveloped the area. At this moment, these spiritual creatures finally understood how powerful Xiaohua was. This aura was as ancient as time, as vast as the sky, and as heavy as the earth. Under this aura, the spiritual creatures felt that they were nothing more than dust. Xiaohua flew high into the sky, but he didn't rush towards a single direction with all his might. Instead, he released his divine sense to scout the surroundings. This was a desolate place. The mountains were extremely tall, the rivers were extremely deep, the ancient trees were extremely huge, and the forests were extremely dense. Everything was somewhat similar to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, but everything was 30% or even several times taller. Xiaohua's divine sense swept across the area, and he could already see many spiritual creatures nearby. Some of these spiritual creatures were roughly at grade 4 or 5. Although they did not dare to make any strange movements under Xiaohua's pressure, when his divine sense swept across, these spiritual creatures were still arrogantly roaring, as if they wanted to challenge him. "That's strange." Xiaohua withdrew his divine sense and frowned slightly. He thought to himself, if it's as Dai said, then these 4th or 5th grade elemental powers should be some kind of earth-rank powerhouse. Why do they look like they don't have any intelligence? Could it be that they weren't considered demons? They weren't considered spiritual creatures but just beasts? Then Xiaohua raised his hand and waved, tearing the void apart. Then his figure flashed and flew into it. However, after a short while, Xiaohua flew out of the void with a strange expression. He looked around and was a little surprised. Then he tore the void apart again. But after a short while he flew out again and shouted, "Damn it, what's going on? Why can't I use the space escape technique?" After standing for a moment, Xiaohua activated the teleportation technique, and his figure immediately disappeared. When he appeared again he was already 1,000 miles away. "It's a little strange." Xiaohua scratched his head and said curiously, "I can't use the space escape technique, but I can use the teleportation technique. Why is that?" Xiaohua pinched his chin and thought for a moment. He already had an answer. However, after thinking for a moment he still released Huang Tong. Once Huang Tong was released, the huge phoenix demon body was immediately fully revealed. Her figure could not be controlled at all and started to spin again. "Xiaohua," Huang Tong said anxiously, "why did you call me out again?" "Fellow Taoist, don't be anxious." Xiaohua chuckled and said, "If we wait for the laws of heaven and earth to calm themselves down, who knows how long it will take. Let this poor Taoist lend you a hand." Don't. Huang Tong did not dare to open her eyes, but she felt that the entire world was spinning. She hurriedly shouted, "This is the chaotic laws of heaven and earth. How can you help me? Can't you see that I'm fine?" Xiaohua looked at the spinning Huang Tong with a smile. Huang Tong roared, "How can I see you? Besides, if you want to help, why don't you let all the other fellow Taoists come out? Why help me?" "It's very simple," Xiaohua said with a smile, "they are all in the space, not in my body. Right now, I can't enter the space, so I can only help you." Previously, Xiaohua and Huang Tong had discussed that from a safety point of view, it was best for the Thunderbolt Immortal, Feng Wu, and the other doppelgangers to stay in Xiaohua's body and not enter the space. There was a risk that the space would not be able to sense them. However, later on, when they had to cross the space barrier, the two felt that Xiaohua had to transform into the phoenix demon body. The doppelgangers hiding in the body would be a burden. It was better to let them enter the space. Of course, in the end, the two did not decide what to do. They just waited until they reached the space barrier. Who knew that before they could enter the space barrier, Xiaohua would find that the space barrier had collapsed. The two did not even have time to discuss the other doppelgangers before they rushed into the space barrier. Therefore, when they reached this place, other than Huang Tong and Xiaohua's body, the other doppelgangers stayed in the space. All right. Huang Tong said helplessly, "You can try first." Okay. When Xiaohua saw Huang Tong agree, he immediately calmed his mind and transmitted his thoughts to her through his mind. At first, Huang Tong did not say much. Her entire demonic body was still spinning around Xiaohua. 2 days later, Huang Tong suddenly let out a clear cry. She flapped her wings and rushed into the distance. Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly wanted to remind her. Unfortunately, he started too late. Boom. With a loud sound, Huang Tong's demonic body hit a mountain peak. Her valiant phoenix body blew off a mountain peak. However, after a moment, Huang Tong spread her wings again and rushed into the sky. Although the flight path was still flipping and shaking, it was obvious that she had a tendency to control herself. Chapter 4775. Xiaohua. Huang Tong cried out in surprise in Xiaohua's heart. "I have to say, you are really a cultivation genius. Do you know what you are comprehending? This is the supreme law of heaven and earth in the Shenyuan space." Yi Jian only comprehended 2 halts out of the 10 halts, and he was able to break out of the Shenyuan space. But you? You actually comprehended 3 laws of heaven and earth at the same time. Are you still human? AI, poor child. Xiaohua proudly smiled. You've been away from home for far too long, so long that you don't even know it yourself. That's because there's a heavenly Tao avatar in our space. Aside from cultivating Taoist techniques, I also have a way to comprehend the heavenly Tao. This Xiao has already broken away from the heaven-piercing realm previously and entered the heaven glimpse realm. Now, because I've witnessed the heaven and earth laws of the 3 worlds, I've mastered all my previous accumulations through a comprehensive study, advancing the heaven glimpse realm a step further. What a heaven glimpse! What a heaven glimpse! Huang Tong was happy and spread her wings for thousands of miles. She said to Xiaohua in her heart, "I wonder what other amazing realms are there?" Xiaohua thought for a moment and shook his head. "These realms are all mysterious and can only be understood and not explained. I am only using human language to explain and cannot express the true meaning. Of course, if I had not reached that step, I would not know how to name it. Perhaps I had gained something before, but it was all nonsense." Ah. Huang Tong had already disappeared, but there was a clear connection in Xiaohua's heart. Even his mind could clearly sense Huang Tong's position. The secret technique of twin breath has made a substantial breakthrough. Xiaohua slightly sensed the position of Huang Tong, and immediately rejoiced. He smiled and said, "If we cultivate for another 100 years, the mind of Xiao and the 8 fellow Taoists should be able to completely cover the hidden immortal continent. At that time, we should be able to lay out the 9 regions' great array." Just as Xiaohua thought of this, Huang Tong's scream sounded in his heart, "Xiaohua, quickly help me!" Xiaohua was stunned. His figure flashed and he immediately teleported to the place where Huang Tong disappeared. Xiaohua appeared in the void and saw a strange beast twice the size of Huang Tong in the sky. It was standing on a demonic cloud and charging at Huang Tong. The strange beast looked like a python dragon, but it had a pair of bone wings that were over 10,000 feet long. On the bone wings, there were thousands of bone spikes that shone with a pitch-black brilliance under the sunlight. The beast's claws landed on Huang Tong's left wing. Huang Tong quickly flapped her wings and strange runes appeared, tearing the void to the left. Bursts of spatial power came from the cracks and swept toward the beast. Under normal circumstances, Huang Tong's move would have blocked the beast's attack. But at this moment, Huang Tong's body was swaying. She couldn't control her direction at all. Just like how Xiaohua bullied the weak, this attack didn't hit the beast at all. Instead, it missed and rushed towards the ground. It obviously missed. Seeing that the beast's claws were about to pierce Huang Tong's back, Xiaohua immediately rubbed his hands together. Rays of crystal light fell into the lightning hand. Then, with a rumbling sound, a hand that was several times bigger than the lightning hand used on the 3 continents appeared out of thin air. Not only was the hand of lightning powerful, but it also carried a kind of anger and madness. Before the hand even landed, the space under the hand had already been restricted. Many pitch-black vortexes appeared in the void and tore the strange beast's body apart. The giant hand even squeezed the strange beast's body until it was distorted. Roar roar. The strange beast howled crazily and struggled with all its might. Many barbs grew out of the bone spikes and attacked Xiaohua's lightning hand. At this time the lightning hand not only had lightning, it also had gold and purple light. These lights hit the bone spikes and the pitch-black bone spikes instantly turned into powder. A strange beast with 7th level essence power. Xiaohua used his power to grab the strange beast and unconsciously frowned. In his heart he said to Huang Tong, "This is the most powerful strange beast I've ever met. What's going on?" In other words, Xiaohua's expression suddenly changed. Lightning surged around his body and his body trembled. With this trembling, Xiaohua's lightning hand instantly collapsed. The strange beast with 7th level essence power suddenly broke free and tried its best to fly into the sky. Its bone wings flapped a few times and disappeared into the sky. "Xiaohua, what's wrong?" Huang Tong saw the change and hurriedly shouted. Xiaohua didn't say anything. He raised his right hand to signal Huang Tong to shut up. Then he used a Dao technique to draw the heaven and earth essence energy of the 10,000 demon realm into his body. The 10,000 demon realm naturally had heaven and earth essence energy. When this heaven and earth essence energy entered Xiaohua's body, there were ripples in Xiaohua's lower dantian. Although these ripples were not big, they were enough to disturb the nebula nascent soul. Looking at the nebula nascent soul refining the heaven and earth essence energy without any special changes, Xiaohua patted his head again. Boom! A brilliance bloomed like a lotus platform. The rank 8 scattered nascent soul stepped on the brilliance and appeared in the space. Pa pa pa. The 8 tribulation scattered nascent soul was originally invisible, but at this time the scattered nascent soul's entire body seemed to grow bigger and bigger. In a moment it was already hundreds of feet tall. It was actually similar to Xiaohua's golden body. Moreover, as the 8 tribulation scattered nascent soul grew, a layer of strange marks appeared on the surface of the invisible nascent soul. Every time a mark appeared, the scattered nascent soul's body would boil violently, as if its hair was being cut off and the marrow was being cleansed. When the marks covered 50% of the nascent soul's body. Rumble. High in the sky, the 2 suns emitted enchanting sunlight. Layers of thunder began to spread under the sun. 9. Ninth tribulation? Xiaohua was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the 9th tribulation of the scattered nascent soul would be born here. How is this possible? When the scattered nascent soul has passed the 9th tribulation, it has already reached the realm of flesh and the spirit. It can replace the laws of heaven and earth in the tribulation and wait for ascension. But this is obviously not a suitable sign for ascension. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and looked at the sky. Although the sky was changing, there was no trace of ascension aura at all. Moreover, opposite the 2 suns, 3 moons were also revealed. The merciless moonlight was also attracted to the nascent soul's body. The figure that was originally invisible was now more and more clear. This is the minor tribulation of the Shenyuan space. Just when Xiaohua was surprised, Huang Tong exclaimed, "How? How can there be one in the 10,000 demon realm?" "What is a minor tribulation?" Xiaohua hurriedly asked. Chapter 4776. Shenyuan space is a space composed of many interfaces. Outside of these interfaces, which is the edge of Shenyuan space, there is a space similar to the interface barrier. First, we have to break through the spatial barrier of the Shenyuan space. We have to break through this barrier before we can reach this space. The heavenly tribulation that is born in this space is easier than breaking through the heavenly tribulation of the entire Shenyuan space. Therefore, it is called the minor heavenly tribulation. "Oh, I understand." Xiaohua thought for a moment and nodded. That is to say, the interface of 10,000 demon realm is not the same as the interface of the 3 continents, but half a grid higher or even less than half a grid. Therefore, the stage 8 scattered nascent soul has to go through a minor heavenly tribulation to adapt to the heaven and earth origin energy here, to adapt to the laws of heaven and earth here. I guess this is also the reason why I waited until here and couldn't recover. With that said, Xiaohua looked at the lightning in the sky and frowned. It is nothing for my stage 8 scattered nascent soul to go through a minor heavenly tribulation here. But what if the scattered nascent soul returns to the 3 continents? Will it immediately face the real major heavenly tribulation? No need to think too much. Huang Tong smiled. The minor heavenly tribulation can be seen as a preview of the major heavenly tribulation. Don't you see the marks on the surface of the scattered nascent soul? That seems to be the mark of the laws of heaven and earth. The minor heavenly tribulation here is less powerful than the major heavenly tribulation, and after going through the minor heavenly tribulation, the immortal chi in the scattered nascent soul's body may be richer, and then the power of the major heavenly tribulation will be much smaller. Yes, I understand. Xiaohua nodded. This minor heavenly tribulation is equivalent to reducing the power of the major heavenly tribulation, but there are more tests inside. There are advantages and disadvantages. Fellow Taoist is right. Huang Tong replied. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. The problem is, I don't want to go through any minor heavenly tribulation now, I just want to quickly find the space passage to Xiaoyu continent. And I released my nascent soul just to let this nascent soul explore the abnormality of the heaven and earth origin energy in 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua, isn't there a saying in the human race that haste makes waste? Don't worry. Huang Tong comforted, let's take one step at a time. All right. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, since you want to go through heavenly tribulation, then let's go through heavenly tribulation together. I don't have the time to let you transcend the tribulation one by one. As he spoke, Xiaohua released the other 100 or so stage 8 scattered nascent souls. More than 100 rank 8 scattered nascent souls appeared together. The 2 suns and 3 moons suddenly swelled up. Moreover, the lightning that filled the sky rapidly thickened. A huge vortex appeared in the sky above the lightning. Thick lightning pillars crazily smashed down. The entire world was roaring. Haha, sure. More than 100 scattered nascent souls teleported to within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. A huge capital sky star formation was formed. In the sky, lightning spread rapidly. Huang Tong laughed and said, in that case I will join in the fun too. With that, Huang Tong opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of demonic qi. The 100-beast flag also fell into the air. The 99 demonic beast souls were interspersed between the 100 scattered nascent souls. A strange fluctuation appeared above the demonic beast soul, and this fluctuation rushed into the void. Boom, boom, boom. Amidst the rumbling, the sky around the huge vortex was torn open again, and the stars that filled the sky were revealed. 99 pillars of stars suddenly fell down, covering the demonic beast soul and also protecting the 100 scattered nascent souls. It covered the entire capital sky star formation. While Xiaohua was worried about his nascent soul undergoing the minor heavenly tribulation, he was also frowning as he looked at the vast land within 1,000,000 miles. His mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. Although he had suddenly released these 100 nascent souls to undergo the minor heavenly tribulation, he also wanted to use this method to attract all the demon clans within 1,000,000 miles. He wanted to test them and intimidate them. But now, seeing that the minor heavenly tribulation was about to fall, within 1,000,000 miles, other than the trembling demonic beasts, no other demon clan flew out. It's really strange. Could it be that there are no demon clans in the 10,000 demon realm here? While Xiaohua sighed and was puzzled, the minor heavenly tribulation of the 10,000 demon realm finally fell. For a total of 49 days and nights, the thunderbolts continued to strike. Layers of pitch-black realm power and the power of laws that Xiaohua was familiar with also rushed into the bodies of the 100 scattered nascent souls in the arena. It washed away the remaining traces of the 3 continents and began to condense the spirit bodies and change the rules in the spirit bodies. The 99 demonic beast souls in the middle of the thunderbolts also quickly condensed into light pillars of stars and moons during this period of time. Each demonic beast soul also borrowed the power of the thunderbolts to reach the point where Yin gave birth to Yang and reincarnate from death. If there were any special opportunities, they could really be reborn as real demonic beasts. When the thunderbolts and clouds dissipated, it was another starry night. Xiaohua kept the scarred scattered nascent souls. Huang Tong waved the 100-beast flag to keep the demonic beasts. The 2 of them looked at each other with helplessness in their eyes. Huang Tong said, Xiaohua, it seems that we are unlucky. Although we have arrived at the 10,000 demon realm, we have arrived at a desolate place. Otherwise, with such a big movement, the demon clan would have come to investigate long ago. This is not the worst news. Xiaohua replied, the worst news is, the 10,000 demon realms heaven and earth origin qi is different from the 3 continents. It is not particularly suitable for the human race. It should be said that it is very suitable for the dragon clan. When the heaven and earth origin qi falls into the meridians of the human race, it is very easy for the meridians to burst. Even if the heaven and earth origin qi is refined, when it falls into the lower dantian, it will cause changes. It will make the golden core unstable and the nascent soul irritable. The reason is that there is a problem with the 2 suns and 3 moons in the sky. If this problem is not solved, our human race will not be able to survive in the 10,000 demon realm. It is probably because of this that there is no human race in the 10,000 demon realm. Our Fortune Gate disciples. If we were to take root here, I am afraid it would be extremely difficult. Why would the Fortune Gate disciples take root in the 10,000 demon realm? Huang Tong asked meaningfully, why would we use the 10,000 demon realm instead of the Xinhua continent? Fellow Taoist may not understand what I mean. Xiao Hua's mouth was a little bitter as he replied, previously, I also had the intention of sending all my disciples to the Xinhua continent. But there are 3 problems. First, the Fortune Gate disciples in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range are different from the original Fortune Gate disciples in the Xinhua continent. They are exposed to different laws of heaven and earth. I don't know if they can cultivate smoothly in the Xinhua continent. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to finish, Huang Tong shook her head and said, since the laws of heaven and earth in the Xinhua continent are different, the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm are even more different. You are not worried about leaving them in the 10,000 demon realm? Chapter 4777. The Xinhua continent is not fully formed. Xiao Hua explained, I know that the space is changing every moment. Because of the impact of the 3 laws of heaven and earth, there might be other changes in the space. Therefore, instead of putting the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain range in the Xinhua continent, it is better to put them in the mature world. Huang Tong naturally did not know about the changes in the space, so he just nodded and did not speak. Secondly, Xiao Hua's gaze became a bit deep and he even said with a bit of guilt, fellow Taoist might not know, but this Xiao is very soft-hearted. To put it bluntly, I indulge my disciples a bit. There are many things that I can't be strict with. Yuan Tong Tian and His Highness Lan are 2 bad examples. Jianghu. How do I say it? I wanted to tell her directly several times, but I couldn't bear to see her suffer. I know that with the little white dragon in front of me, I won't let my disciple be the master of the West Sea Dragon Palace, but I can't bear to attack Jianghu. I think Jianghu has seen through this, so she has been fighting for it. This made me feel very conflicted. So when I saw the Mahavairakana Buddha the last time, I wanted to take Yuan Tongtian's soul and place it in my own space to nurture it. Wouldn't that be 100 times better than leaving it with the Mahavairakana Buddha? But I also know that I feel guilty about Yuan Tongtian, and I am afraid that it will not be easy to train his rebellious nature, so I simply handed this matter to the Vairocana Buddha. If the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain range come to the Xinhua continent, I am afraid that Xiao Hua, you are really a very good person. You really don't deserve to be the sect master. Huang Tong said deeply, look at Jiang Haochen in the Shenyuan space. Without needing Huang Tong to say more, Xiao Hua naturally understood what he wanted to say. Xiao Hua helplessly waved his hand and said, cultivation can be improved with cultivation, but this character is really hard to change. So I basically don't make any decisions in the Fortune Gate, everything is left to Lu Yi and the others. Speaking of Lu Yi, Huang Tong's eyes were smiling, these children are all good, I don't know how you found them. How I found them don't you already know? I didn't hide the details of these disciples from you. Xiao Hua replied. No. Huang Tong shook her head. What I meant was, how did you have such good luck to find such a good disciple? Just based on their final choice, I feel that in the entire 3 continents, no one can compare to them. Forget it, let's not talk about it anymore. The more you talk about it, the heavier my burden becomes. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, the 3rd reason is our ascension. He remembered that in the Star Moon Palace, Senior Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu had said that when they ascended, ordinary cosmos bags, dharma treasures and other items could not be brought up to the immortal world. This was because the laws of heaven and earth had to change, and the immortal spirit chi had to be reconstructed into the array formation. Ordinary dharma treasures could not withstand the immortal spirit chi because of their material. Even for a divine item like the Kunlun mirror, I'm afraid that the Kunlun wonderland within it would need to be reconstructed. Therefore, I cannot guarantee that the Xinhua continent will not undergo any changes. If there is a change, the disciples of Xinhua continent should be able to follow the changes of the entire realm because they have the laws of heaven and earth. However, the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain range might not be able to. I understand. Huang Tong nodded and said, then you have to make a choice between the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm, the persecution of the strange beasts in the 10,000 demon realm, and the changes in the space of Xinhua continent. Yes, there has to be a choice. Xiao Hua sighed and said, what do you think? Don't ask me. I don't understand these things. Huang Tong flapped her wings and said, your choice is my choice. Don't you have any suggestions? Xiao Hua asked unwillingly, after all, you have been to the mystic space and have seen a lot more than me. Fellow Taoist, don't laugh at me. Huang Tong pursed her lips and said, Fellow Taoist, you have also brought the disciples of the Fortune Gate and other fellow Taoists to the upper realm. Aren't you more knowledgeable than me? If you have something to say, you should discuss it with them more, right? Xiao Hua's mind had already sensed the blurry space. He knew that under the minor tribulation of the 10,000 demon realm, the laws of heaven and earth in the space had begun to stabilize. Feng Wu and the others would be able to come out soon. He smiled and said, "Then let's wait a few more days. We will discuss it together. I think there will be a good way." The heaven and earth's origin energy is different from the three continents. Our human race can't cultivate, then what about other things? Huang Tong gradually began to consider the three continents and couldn't help but ask. Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist, please wait a moment." After he finished speaking, Xiao Hua raised his hand and patted the top of his head. A five-colored true qi gushed out and formed 5 lotus-like clouds above his head. The clouds were born and countless noble qi fell down with a loud rumble. A huge body was gradually formed. However, this body was somewhat different from the three continents. It was not the image of a scholar but the image of a general. Xiao Hua's body rushed into the sky and galloped for a moment before returning to his body. Xiao Hua shook his head slightly and said to Huang Tong, "What Confucian cultivators use is noble qi. In the end, it is also a kind of spiritual qi. However, Confucian cultivators can use this spiritual qi to deposit the human race's history and thoughts in the world for future generations to use. There is a similar spiritual qi in the 10,000 demon realm. Let's call it noble qi. However, there was no human race in the 10,000 demon realm before, so the noble qi did not have the precipitation of the sage's thoughts. Without the accumulation of thousands of years of culture, there is no characteristic of Confucian cultivators. Of course, this noble qi can be used to cultivate Xiantian true qi. Also, the righteous spirit of the 10,000 demon realm focuses on martial arts, while the righteous spirit of the three continents focuses on political governance. In this respect, the immortal palace's militarists should be like fish in water. Hearing this, Huang Tong already understood. He nodded and said, "A new world naturally has a new order. A new world also has a new beginning. Everything is uncertain and unknown. However, since the 10,000 demon realm is named demon, the power of the stars and moon lives up to its name." Yes. Xiao Hua looked down at his golden body and then looked at Huang Tong's demon body. He replied, "Because the 10,000 demon realm has 2 suns and 3 moons, the stars in the starry sky are twice as dense as the 3 continents. The power of the stars and moon is of course several times stronger. Moreover, from the looks of our Dharma bodies, the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm are also biased towards the demon race and not the human race." Chapter 4778. The Xin technique I cultivate is different from Feng Wu's star and moon force. Huang Tong laughed. When we were in the 3 continents, Feng Wu was slightly weaker than me. But here, Feng Wu is stronger than me. Fellow Taoist, you're skilled in the laws of space. When Xiao Hua spoke up to hear, he suddenly came to an understanding and asked hastily, "Right, you hadn't come out earlier, so I'd already tried to utilize a spatial escape technique. However, I was unable to utilize it no matter what. I feel that this might be related to the laws of the heavens and the earth. Try again." Huang Tong nodded and waved his sharp claws, tearing the void. After the figure disappeared, he retreated a moment later and replied thoughtfully, "You are right. The space escape technique uses the space force of the realm, and this space force originates from the law of space. You and I are new here. How can we comprehend the law of space of the 10,000 demon realm? Even if we do, we don't have the law of space of the 10,000 demon realm in our bodies. How can we activate the space force?" Well, the reason why you could activate the space escape technique in the 3 continents is because you are the body of the 4 major continents, and I also have the law of heaven and earth of the 3 continents in my body. Xiao Hua nodded. If we want to use the space escape technique in the 10,000 demon realm, we can only comprehend the law of heaven and earth and absorb it into our bodies. That is true, and so is cultivation. But if you want to engrave the law of heaven and earth of a realm into your body, you will not be able to do it without thousands of years of hard work. Don't be delusional. Huang Tong knew what Xiao Hua was thinking and mercilessly interrupted Xiao Hua's daydream. Xiao Hua sighed, knowing that it would take many days to find the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent. Let's take a look at the power of faith of the Buddhist sect. Huang Tong whispered, "Maybe there will be a surprise." Absolutely impossible. Xiao Hua shook his head. This is a desolate realm of Buddhism. There is no Buddhism from the human race. Although the Buddhism sect emphasizes that all living beings are Buddhas, the origin of the Buddhism sect is still the human race. Only through the enlightenment of the human race can the Buddhism be spread. The 10,000 demon realm also has reincarnation and karma. Huang Tong smiled. As long as there is the human race, Buddhism can still prosper. I am already looking forward to it. If there is a great sage of the 10,000 demon realm chanting Buddha's name, what kind of scene it would be? Xiaohua ignored Huang Tong and chanted, Namu Maitreya Buddha. The Buddhas 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 and Buddhas 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 and Buddhas Buddhas Buddha Buddha. Buddhas 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 Buddha, Buddhas as Buddhas, Buddhas as Buddhas as Buddhas Buddha Buddha, Buddhas Buddha Buddha. After Xiaohua withdrew the Buddhist light, Huang Tong smiled and said, I didn't expect that you could only reveal a female bodhisattva here. Buddhas Buddha 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 Buddha. Xiaohua had already understood and explained, I have achieved fruition in the realms of the 3 continents. Naturally, I can reveal my true form in the 3 continents. But this is not the realm of fruition. Since I am here, the image of Namu Maitreya Buddha is naturally Buddha's Buddha's Buddha. Moreover, I have just seen that this 10,000 demon realm does not have the original power of faith, that is, there is no Buddha's light. It seems that those guardian heavenly kings who escorted the Buddha here will have merit. Huang Tong smiled and flapped her wings in the air. She laughed and said, this merit actually belongs to you, fellow Taoist. Xiaohua smiled but did not answer. This was because when he released the Buddha's golden body, he had already sensed the change in the crystal godhead. There was a kind of light of faith at the edge. As long as Xiaohua released the Buddhist disciples and Confucian disciples, this light of faith would immediately flourish and the crystal godhead would definitely increase. Seeing that Xiaohua did not speak, Huang Tong also knew that the Dharma should not be passed on. She was from the demon tribe and had nothing to do with the Buddhism sect, so he would not ask. She looked around and said, fellow Taoists, you have opened up a paradise for the cultivators of the ruins on the untainted land. Let me help you today. Thank you. Xiaohua cupped his hands and smiled. Then Huang Tong spread her wings and rushed into the sky. An overwhelming aura was like the rising sun. As she flew high, it spread throughout the entire world. After half an hour, Huang Tong had disappeared from Xiaohua's eyes. Even Xiaohua's divine sense could not detect Huang Tong's aura. However, Huang Tong's voice still sounded in Xiaohua's heart. Fellow Taoist, something is not right. There are demonic beasts everywhere. There is no peaceful place. Moreover, the sky of the demon realm is different from the 3 continents. There is no earth, fire, wind, and thunder. Oh, or perhaps the sky is very high and I have not come into contact with the earth, fire, wind, and thunder. Within 1,000,000 miles, there were no particularly powerful demonic beasts before? Xiaohua frowned and asked in a low voice, could it be that this place is not suitable? Just as Xiaohua asked this question, a kind of warning suddenly emerged from the bottom of his heart. Then, an incomparably gloomy and cold consciousness, even colder than the wind of the netherworld, swept over from afar. Xiaohua cried out in alarm without thinking, not good. Then Xiaohua activated the wind escape technique and flew into the distance. In a moment he had disappeared. As soon as Xiaohua moved, the cold and gloomy consciousness seemed to have noticed the abnormality. It immediately chased after Xiaohua, closely following behind him. After the time it took to eat a meal, Xiaohua was still unable to get rid of the consciousness behind him. Xiaohua was shocked and immediately activated the thunder escape technique. However, after hearing the roar of thunder, Xiaohua accelerated again. When the cold consciousness heard the sound of thunder, it immediately stopped. It seemed to be shocked, but then the cold consciousness seemed to be angry and madly rushed in the direction Xiaohua disappeared in. However, after a moment, the consciousness retracted and then rushed into the sky to find Huang Tong. Xiaohua did not dare to stop and flew for half an hour. During this time there were also a lot of consciousnesses that rushed out, wanting to stop Xiaohua. However, these consciousnesses were much weaker than Xiaohua. Xiaohua did not hold back and released his pressure. As long as he encountered any obstruction, he would immediately kill them. These consciousnesses were so scared that they did not dare to chase. Damn it. Xiaohua's figure stopped at the peak of a mountain. He looked back with some lingering fear. Above his head, Huang Tong also flew out from the void. Her face, which had always been arrogant, also had a kind of panic. What kind of demonic beast is this? Could it be that it has already surpassed the 10th grade of origin energy? Give it as a reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4779. I don't know what kind of demon race it is. Huang Tong retracts her wings and agrees, but I know that this is a strong opponent that I have never met before. I don't know about other divine abilities, but just from this will alone, I might have found more than one. This will is filled with a kind of instinct. Xiao Hua ponders for a moment and shakes his head. It's far from the intelligence of an ordinary spirit race or demon race. It should be a kind of demon beast. Oh my, a demon beast comparable to a 10th grade essence power? Huang Tong's originally retracted wings suddenly explodes. She exclaims, Xiao Hua, you let more than 108th grade loose nascent souls go through the minor heavenly tribulation in front of other people's door. Now that I think about it, we are really tired of living. If other people came out at that time, this minor heavenly tribulation, whether they can pass or not is another matter. Since it dares to come out, let it also taste the taste of the minor heavenly tribulation. Xiao Hua laughs coldly. Forget it. Huang Tong laughs. How can you bear to let these quasi-ninth tribulation loose nascent souls deal with demon beasts? If these loose nascent souls return to the 3 continents, most of them can pass the major heavenly tribulation and enter the immortal world. At that time they will be your powerful backup. The problem is, Xiao Hua has nothing to hide from his clone. He says in his heart, how can 109th tribulation loose nascent souls pass the tribulation? That's the major heavenly tribulation for ascension, not the minor heavenly tribulation just now. Won't 109th tribulation loose nascent souls crush the corresponding world passage of the 3 continents? From the memory that fellow Taoist passed to fellow Taoist seems to have asked Senior Su about the soul cleansing pool, right? Huang Tong is indeed on his side. Her smile also carries a kind of wretchedness, a kind of deep meaning. I don't know. Xiao Hua laughs and waves his hand. We will talk about this later. Right now, we also need to ask for help. Saying this, Xiao Hua's mind enters the space. However, just as Xiao Hua's mind enters the space, he is stunned again because a strange feeling arises from the bottom of his heart. Xiao Hua's mind hastily turned into a jade archive. Xiao Hua stood quietly in the void with his eyes slightly closed, sensing the changes in the entire space. Within this space, the various spaces that had yet to materialize as well as the space where Xinhua continent was located, did not appear to be any different on the surface. However, Xiao Hua could vaguely sense that there were already different heaven and earth laws in different spaces. Although these heaven and earth laws were still in their embryonic form, the fluctuations were gradually gathering in the 4 walls of the space, forming a thin boundary barrier. Even these realm barriers were flashing with obscure profound meanings in front of the 3 laws in the void that had yet to stop. Half a meal's worth of time later, Jade Archive Xiao Hua finally opened his eyes and looked at himself up and down. At this moment, Jade Archive Xiao Hua's image was much clearer than before. Jade Archive Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, "Excellent, this is a blessing in disguise." After that, Xiao Hua didn't ask Daoist Sorcerer and the others to come out. He came out of the space himself. Where are my fellow Taoists? Huang Tong asked curiously. Xiao Hua stretched out his finger and waved his hand asking, "Don't be anxious, fellow Taoist. Let me ask you a question first." "Oh, go ahead." Huang Tong was even more confused. "I have already passed all my memories to you. Do you still have any questions?" "Memories are memories, comprehension is comprehension." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "This is different. I have a question now. You said that the Xinyuan space is an interface made up of different spaces, and the laws in each space are different. Then Yi Jian and Jiang Haochen's cultivation is comprehending different laws and cultivating different spatial divine powers?" "Why do you ask?" Huang Tong asked. "Because in our space, each space has already become a prototype of an interface, and each has formed a different law of heaven and earth." Xiao Hua answered in his heart, "I think. Does Xinhua continent already have the possibility of immortal ascension, or the possibility of heavenly tribulation?" "Good." Huang Tong laughed and said, "Congratulations, fellow Taoist. It should be so." Congratulations. Xiao Hua realized that he was right. Huang Tong explained, "The situation of the Xinyuan space is different from our space. Those spaces should be in the same interface, and the laws of heaven and earth inside are generally similar. There are only some slight differences, so every time Yi Jian breaks through a space, he doesn't have to go through heavenly tribulation. Only at the last moment will there be heavenly tribulation. Oh, of course, this is my own understanding. I am not clear about Yi Jian's experience. As for the true appearance of the Xinyuan space, I don't even know." "Understood." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "No matter what, this is a good thing. If they can't find a suitable place in the 10,000 demon realm, Li Xiang and the rest can stay in the Xinhua continent. Of course they can also go to the Xiaoyu continent. It depends on their own choice. Then Xiaohua raised his voice and said, "Fellow Taoists, why don't you come out and see the scenery of the 10,000 demon realm? Haha, who will wake up first in the dream? I know myself." Before Xiaohua's voice fell, a bold and unrestrained voice sounded. The Thunder Immortal was showing off while flying out. Without waiting for the Thunderclap Venerable to stand still in the air, rumble. Countless profound meanings appeared in the void and turned into thunderbolts that rushed into the Thunderclap Venerable's body. The Thunderclap Venerable's body suddenly expanded like a bubble. In just a moment he turned into a colossus that was over 10,000 zhang tall. He actually looked a size larger than Xiaohua. However, the Thunder Immortal didn't have time to show off. He sat down cross-legged and quietly comprehended the profound meaning of thunder in the 10,000 demon realm. This guy. Xiaohua looked at the Thunder Immortal and said, relying on the fact that he read a few more books in the Xinhua continent, when Chu wasn't here he dropped his book bag. I really don't know what Princess Qingqing sees in him. Tortoise and mung beans, they just like each other. Huang Tong rolled his eyes and said, "Yes, fellow Taoist didn't find one in the Xinyuan space?" Xiaohua asked curiously, but he regretted it after saying it. This Huang Tong was different from Feng Wu. He had also experienced some of his own experiences. Why would he make such a joke with him for no reason? Sai, once you've seen the sea you can't see the water. Apart from Mount Wu you can't see the clouds. Sure enough, Huang Tong sighed and said, "Xiaohua, although I have the Phoenix Celestial Body, the Phoenix Celestial Body also has integrity. You can forget Fairy Hong Xia and find another Princess Zixia, but I can't forget the Ice Phoenix in my heart." Xiaohua was embarrassed. He stretched out a finger and pointed at Huang Tong in the void and said, Okay, don't let me see the Ice Phoenix Celestial Body. I will definitely tell her what you did in the Xinyuan space." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.